This was sponsored by the Positive Coaching Alliance. Fernando Mendoza in the NFL draft went number 1 overall last night. David Bailey, the New York Jets, were the big winners, getting David Bailey at number 2, Kenyon Sadiq in the middle of the first round, and then trading back up for Omar Cooper Jr., the receiver from Indiana, and Caleb Downs, star safety from Ohio State, going to the Dallas Cowboys at number 11. Tonight, we got Laker basketball, game 3 against the Rockets. That'll be at 5 o'clock. Houston's an 8.5-point favorite in that one here, right here on San Diego Sports 760. KD is questionable with a left ankle sprain, and Austin Reaves has been upgraded to questionable, might play for the first time in 3 weeks since that oblique strain. If you have questions about youth or high school sports, Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA builds better athletes and better people through sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
We will start from the beginning.
I'm Ben Fletcher. That's Sammy Long.
Those goofy bastards are just about the best thing I've got going in this crazy world.
They never make it easy.
Sheets hits one in the air to right field, down the line. That ball is back, and that ball is gone. 3-run home run for Gavin Sheets.
A big comeback win in Colorado for the Padres.
On the ground to third base, Machado to second for one, on to first. Double play ends the ball game. Padres win.
The Padres head down to Mexico for a pair versus the Diamondbacks. SDFC looks to get back on track at home against Portland. And what was the biggest surprise in round 1 of the NFL draft? My vote is...
With the 13th pick in the 2026 NFL draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Ty Simpson, quarterback, Alabama.
I'm really confused.
We react to what happened in Pittsburgh last night. The weekend begins inside the studios of San Diego Sports 760 in the zone with Fletch and Sammy.
Locked into the zone. Sammy Long. Normally Ben Fletcher, but he's decided to bail on us and go gallivanting up in North County, golfing away, trying to make some relationships as a great representative of our parent organization, iHeart. Jonathan Rifkin filling in from 12 to 2, taking you up to the long shot, or going long with Sammy Long. Not a long shot anymore. It exists. I guess long shot's a segment in it. Clearly, you could see how up to date I am on what's going on in the world of 760. Pleasure to be here. Excited from 12 to 2 to take the helm here from Fletch. Sammy, I haven't seen you in a while, man. We haven't chatted, I think, since the last time I filled in a couple of weeks ago. What's been going on, man? How's it going in your world?
It's been good, man. It's been a lot going on. Obviously, Padres on a little bit of a tear here. Lakers in the playoffs and NFL draft. So just kind of same old, a little fun part of the year in sports until we get to the kind of push in the middle of the summer. How about you? What you been up to?
Oh, you know how it is. Just trying to piece this crazy life together and make a little bit of sense. We got Coach Quintero booked at 12:30, Steve Hartman at 1:30. Talk Lakers, talk draft. Today is the only day of my life, I think, Sammy. We're witnessing history in 29 years and just under 2 months of my life. That I will be rooting for the Lakers and the Celtics on the same day. Actually, maybe in my life ever that I'm rooting for the Lakers, a game you could hear right here on San Diego Sports 760 tonight at 5 in Houston, trying to go up 3-0 against the Rockets. Yeah, and it has nothing to do with anything other than my, I guess fandom in its own right is selfish, but on a greater and more philosophical level. With that being said, my reasoning for rooting for the Lakers is 100% selfish. But nonetheless, I think that you should be elated that I have turned, at least for today.
So what's this big reasoning? I asked you before the show. I assumed that it was because you hated Kevin Durant.
I don't understand. Like, I know that he went to the Warriors and they pissed a lot of people off. I don't understand. Like, there are way more abrasive figures in the NBA than Kevin Durant. I don't know where the hate comes from with him. I do know where it comes from. I don't know why, I guess. But no, it's not because I hate Kevin Durant. It's because I call professional soccer, and a radio station that I work with is just like us here at San Diego Sports 760, a Lakers affiliate. And I keep getting preempted for Laker games. And so I'm tired of getting preempted for Laker games. Now the Lakers are up 2-0. Let's just sweep the series. If they go to a game 6, then my May 1st broadcast is preempted again. So at this point, I could if Houston went up 2-0, I would have been rooting for Houston, and now I'm rooting for the Lakers to get through the series quickly.
You got to get rid of your Celtics card, man. If you say you're rooting for the Lakers, they're not going to.
I'm not rooting for the Lakers. I'm not rooting for the Lakers because I want them to necessarily win the championship. I'm rooting for the Lakers because I want to be able to do my job.
Well, it's okay because Austin Reaves might be coming back tonight, so we might have to get a clean little sweep over the weekend.
Well, by the way, Houston's 8.5-point favorites in this game. That feels a little steep, right?
Well, it's surprising because the first two games, Houston opened as 5.5-point favorites in LA. Now it dropped to 2.5 when KD was out for game one. And then they opened as 8.5 to 9.5-point favorites on the road, despite losing the first two games. And then Kevin Durant pops up with an ankle injury and Reaves might play. So that does feel big to me. Now I get Houston needs to win this game tonight. So there might be more pressure on Houston just to win the game, so they might come out on fire. But I am surprised with what we've seen so far that they're almost 10-point favorites in this game.
Yeah, it feels steep, especially with the Reaves news. Now, maybe there's a lot more doubt that Reaves actually is. Maybe he's on a minutes restriction. Maybe there's maybe there's going to work him in a little bit. But the Lakers have proven that they can do things with the supporting cast around LeBron in a way that Houston doesn't have much of a response for. And I don't know if that was necessarily the Laker home crowd that was the reason that the Lakers won those games. I think the Lakers had a better game plan and a better strategy, and Luke Kennard toasted them in game number one. And you have not little guys, but you have supporting roles here and there that are contributing in ways that Houston just hasn't had a response for. And I'm curious to see what adjustments they make that can justify an 8.5-point spread going into the game. I do think, though, if we're just going to stick to the playoff conversation here really quickly, the Portland-San Antonio series to me has been the most intriguing. I know Philadelphia got a nice game 2 win against Boston. Detroit, Orlando's fine. I know it's 1-1, and Denver, Minnesota's fun because it's 2-1. But there's something about this Portland-San Antonio series. Portland just got bought. Their owner is now cost cutting and not sending personnel on the road. Their team photographer doesn't travel anymore. The radio broadcaster might be doing it remotely. There's these little things, and the fan base needs a win. So for me, this is good for Portland. And then we know what San Antonio is with the storylines and this young, amazing core and Wembanyama. To me, this feels like the best series right now.
It does feel like in the NBA, because the first weekend, a lot of people thought there's a lot of blowouts and a lot of higher seeds that were winning. So historically in the first round of the NBA playoffs are not always the best matchups because you do see a talent disparity. But over the last couple days, the Pistons do even the series against the Magic. The Lakers, despite being underdogs in the first two games, are up 2-0. And then you got Minnesota won the last two games against Denver. And to your point, Portland in the Spurs is a really good series now because they stole that game. Wemby's got a concussion, so he might miss tonight and on Sunday. With both those games in Portland, you really feel like that's an opportunity for them. And then even got a team in the 76ers who go in and beat the Celtics in game 2 after getting blasted in game 1. So I think for as much as we want to make Oklahoma City and the Spurs and the Celtics, and there's only a few teams that can win the championship, there are still all-stars on some of these lower seeds, and I think they've kind of proven that over the first week. The Hawks last night beat the Knicks. A lot of these lower seeds are playing a lot better than I think people give them credit for heading into the playoffs.
Well, and the difficult part of the litmus test of the regular season is the lack of defense, because now we're seeing games finish in the low 100s, in the high 90s. We had a game where Denver put up 96 points. They lost 130. It's so refreshing, first of all, to see scores this low. That's why everybody says playoff basketball is so much more interesting than regular season NBA, because they're finally playing defense. And we haven't seen a true litmus test for some of these teams on what night in, night out pure 48-minute defense looks like. And now we're getting that. And that's a huge testament to Atlanta's win, the 1-point win against New York, right? They don't have a better offensive group than what New York has, but they were able to go toe for toe defensively and frustrate them and force timely turnovers and convert those turnovers into points in transition and stay in that game and eventually win. And same with Philadelphia, right? They suffocated the Celtics in that last game. So I think that if tempo turns up, it's a lot harder to figure out now. We know the teams who have the best players, and we know that the stars are going to show up. But, just like the Lakers in Houston, if the supporting cast steps up defensively, especially, and then the offense comes after that, it flows through that, then you can be successful in the postseason. And we're now seeing the defensive litmus test come to fruition in a different way because we haven't had a representative of, Toronto putting the clamps down on a Cleveland team who scored only 104 points, right, in the regular season. So it's a different feel for almost all of these teams. And I think that's why we're getting a bit more continuity.
Totally. And by the way, text line, Texas 70470. Start your message with team. We'll get to the NFL draft coming up here in a couple minutes. But I'm with you. It does feel a lot of these teams are going to be tested. Jalen Williams just got hurt for Oklahoma City. Mm-hmm. He's on a week-to-week basis. Now, Oklahoma City might be the most prepared team in all of basketball with the amount of depth they have. Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort, Alex Caruso. I mean, AJ Mitchell. There's so many guys. But Wemby with the concussion, that Spurs team had a 14-point lead, and it felt like Wemby goes off the floor, and all of a sudden they're a very pedestrian team. Mm-hmm. So some of these, like Cade Cunningham has been there, but he, like, where's the supporting cast for Detroit? They showed up in game 2, not in game 1. It is with the injuries to Luka and Reaves and Kevin Durant, all these stars that haven't been playing in the NBA playoffs. It's going to show, like, how much stars mean to their team, and if it's about the system, because like in Wemby's case, Wemby goes out, one of the best defensive players in all basketball, and their front court depth was awful, and the Portland Trailblazers were destroying them in the paint all night. So it is kind of fun seeing, I mean, not that I want injuries, but it is fun seeing these teams' depth in, who actually has the most well-rounded team, because we're starting to see that given the injuries that have been sustained in the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, it is a fascinating playoff right now. I mean, the only series, right, that's 2-0 or whatever is Oklahoma City Phoenix. Every other series has at least one win aside, right? Which is it's a refreshing take. And again, like my NBA consuming habits were very different. It was minimal this year because I was calling G League and a lot of college, and like I just didn't have the bandwidth. And also, like when I did tune in, I was bored, and now I'm not bored again. And it's nice and it's refreshing. And I wish that this could be a representative of the 82 game regular season that we had to sit through to get to this point. But that was the whole point of the cup, right? They're like, hey, let's put this cup in. Let's try to give some incentives. And like, it's fun, but it doesn't come close to replicating what these teams provide in playoff settings. And I just, how do you think there's a way for the NBA to matriculate this mentality back into the regular season? Or do you think that the NBA will be a playoff league for the viewers for the most part as we progress down this road?
I think, well, a couple things. You talk about the lottery and tanking. And tanking was especially bad this year because you have your Cam Boozers, Darren Peterson, Bonds, mm-hmm.
We finally have a very fruitful lottery.
Right. So to be fair to these teams that people crush and go, it's ridiculous that they're tanking, that is a way for Sacramento and Washington and these teams to be good, because in the NBA, you can pay players that you drafted more money than players you acquire via trade or just signing. And we know in the NBA, because you have to match salaries, it's hard to make trades. So it really is how these teams become good again. And I do think shortening the season, I think the same thing with baseball. I mean, it's such a long, like as a massive NBA fan, I watch every Laker game, but you do see if you reduce the season by 20 games and you were at 60 and you started on Christmas, there'd be less time for load management because there're just less games. In stretches of seasons where teams don't play well, they'd be hurt a lot more. Like the Bulls, the worst team in basketball, started 5-0 or 6-0. So in a 60-game season versus an 82-game season, getting off the hot starts actually might mean a little bit more in terms of the playoff picture. So I do think reducing the season, as well as Major League Baseball, outside of the NFL, it's really the only sport that we clamor for more of on more games, because every other sport, if you reduce it, I think you would create more urgency and it'd feel more like it does today.
Well, they're clamoring for more games because it's going to make them more money. But yeah, I hear you. I wish that there was a way. Like, I don't like that college basketball is becoming a more attractive product to me. I just don't like it. I want the NBA to, like, when I miss the NBA and then I go and I watch in the playoffs, I'm like, this is what I want from October until June. And I'm only, maybe it's my perception, I'm only getting it from April to June. But it's entertaining, and we're trying to be present, and I'm grateful that we have such great playoff matchups, including the Lakers in Houston, which you could hear right here on San Diego Sports 760 tonight at 5 p.m. By the way, when Sammy says that he watches every Laker game, he misspoke. He listens to every Laker game.
I listen to every Laker game.
iHeartRadio.
But I watch it on mute.
I mean, come on, of course. That's the way to do it. That's what I do with John Schaefer on San Diego State football and basketball games, right? That's what I do with with Adrian and Darren on San Diego FC map.
By the way, I
to roll.
misspoke. We are not carrying the game tonight. I just got a text.
Oh,
we are not carrying the game tonight. We normally do, but it would interrupt Schaefer and Sliwa, so we wouldn't be doing that.
Okay, well, Schaefer and Sliwa will certainly give you updates about this game
Yes.
on that free iHeartRadio app. Coming up next, an NFL draft round number 1 did happen. Let's talk about it. Jonathan Rifkin filling in for Ben Fletcher. Sammy Long is here. This is San Diego Sports 760, and we're live on the iHeartRadio app. Hey, San Diego Sports 760. Ben Fletcher's up north, 20 over par on some golf course somewhere.
Yeah,
but he's making deals. He's
he's
making deals.
Why is he off today again?
I don't. There's some golf classic networking thing going on. He's actually there on business. It's not like he's just ditching us to have a personal day. He is there as a representative of our family here at iHeart, which is great. I could not think of a more controversial figure than Ben Fletcher to be the face of your brand. But hey, here we are. No, but it's my favorite thing and the most quintessential Fletch story, right? Like you and I and our amazing team at iHeart, like the people above us, like we had coordinated, how I was going to get connected to the studio and like that I was filling in and all this stuff. We had the four of us had coordinated. We were on the same page. And then yesterday, like after all of that, text puts us all in a group chat and it's like, hey, I don't know if I updated you all that I'm going to be out. And we're like, hey man, you didn't follow up, but we were all so on top of it that we were prepared and ready.
Only Fletch, bro. Only Fletch.
Insulting us and our your assumption of our preparation.
And he like has all these weddings to go to right now, and then he just complains about it. He's like
dude, you have friends, we get it.
Yeah, he's like, God, dude, I have to go to all these weddings. It's like, I'm like, what a hard life you have that people want you to come to their wedding. I'm so sorry for you.
I know, and you get open bars and catered food and celebrate people's eternal supposedly love. Like,
supposedly, at the moment, eternal love.
I don't know. Well, it should be, but I don't make the divorce statistics. And the more I learn about like brain development and generational trauma, the more I understand why it happens and why people find happiness in the second versions of their life. Anyways, that we got way off topic. Speaking of finding happiness,
NFL draft.
The NFL draft happened. The first round, 1/7 of the NFL draft has happened, which is way too many. It's still, I know we have this conversation every year. It's like, yay, the first round, second round's cool. And then it's like, okay, what else is going on in our lives? Let's go check out what's going on in a really exhilarating last couple of weeks of college softball. So Fernando Mendoza goes number 1. No surprise, whatever. I don't really think that, David Bailey's a great pick. I don't really think that there was anything crazy until, look, there were three straight trades, New York, from picks 10, 11, 12, New York traded up, Cowboys traded, and the Dolphins traded. And then we get to 13. And then it's announced that the Rams have traded up and drafted Ty Simpson out of Alabama. When you saw, I don't know if you were watching, Sammy, I don't know
of course.
However you were consuming this, what was your reaction to that moment?
So, well, it kind of came out yesterday that like Todd McShay was reporting, he thinks there's a real possibility that they end up taking Ty Simpson. And in the moment, like I'm kind of split on where I'm at with it, because I do understand if you think that you found a quarterback, if you think that this is your guy, you take a quarterback when you don't need to take a quarterback, because when you need to take a quarterback, that's when you pin your hopes on a guy that you're not entirely sure on. Mm-hmm. And Ty Simpson does have a lot of upside. He was good at Alabama, didn't have a run game there, so was prone to some turnovers because they didn't really have a run game down in Tuscaloosa. But I do understand, though, if you're a Rams fan today going, wait, so we trade for Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs because we're going to win now. We saw the NFC Championship game where Jackson Smith and Jigba, they did not have a single player to guard him. So you go out and get Trent McDuffie. You go out and sign Jalen Watson as well from the Chiefs. And Mekhi Lemon sitting there, the receiver at a USC, which is exactly what they need as a slot guy, alongside with Puka Nacua and Devontae Adams. There were a couple tackles on the board at that point. And so I'm really curious Matthew Stafford's outlook. Like Matthew Stafford today is going to go to the mic and say all the right things. But you got to think at Matthew Stafford at 38 years old is not like we were this close from beating the Seahawks to go to the Super Bowl. And in my estimation, I think they would have ran the Patriots. And yet you go get my successor when we're trying to run this thing back. I wonder if Stafford's pissed today.
That's an interesting thought. Because can't two things be true? This to me feels different than Kirk Cousins getting signed to a big contract to Atlanta and then them going out and drafting Michael Penix. To me, it feels like the Rams are all in now and also trying to show that they have the future in mind. Like this to me doesn't feel like, oh, we don't believe we got to the NFC Championship game. That's our limit now. And we need to bail on the present and start preparing for the future. It doesn't feel like this was like because of the other moves that they made, right, to bolster the secondary and try to help the line a little bit, it doesn't feel to me like they're bailing on the present. It feels like they're solidifying and trying to elevate in the present while also showing that their eyes are towards the future. Because like you said, Stafford's 38, dude. Like, I don't think that Stafford's gonna. The Rams have done so much for him, right? McVay got him, and they've done the Super Bowl stuff, and they've had all this success, and he has a great life in Los Angeles with his family. I don't think that I don't think he wants to retire and leave the Rams hanging. So for me, I feel like this is a perfect mentor opportunity. Ty Simpson is sort of a Mac Jones kind of comp. He can get out of the pocket a little bit, high accuracy passer. I think he can develop some downfield strength. But this is like, he's a good McVay quarterback, and Stafford is a good type of quarterback for him to learn behind. So to me, and this is just my assumption, like I don't think they would have traded up and drafted him without talking to Stafford. And it doesn't to me feel like they're bailing on the present to try and, rebuild for the future. It feels like both of those paths are somewhat parallel right now.
And to that end, if you're the Rams, if you're pro them taking Simpson, the chances of the Rams outside of a Stafford, Kyron Williams, and Puka Nacua torn ACL picking in the top 10 are slim to none. I mean, this is a team that is I believe they're actually the Super Bowl odds-on favorite. So this is not a team that, despite next year's draft class with Dante Moore and Arch Manning and Jaden Maiyava and all these quarterbacks that are going to come out, are probably not in a position to be picking them. So if you think Simpson's the guy and you think him sitting for a year under Matthew Stafford or 2 years is the right thing, then I'm with it. But I would say if I was a Rams fan today and you're this close to the Super Bowl, I mean, that tackle, that other receiver could have really been the piece. And it is hard if you're sitting there going, if Ty Simpson 4 years from now is a franchise quarterback, this is the pick of a decade. But if Stafford comes close once again and loses in the NFC Championship game or can't get over the hump, we're going to come back to last night and go, could you have added a playmaker instead of Ty Simpson?
We're going to pick up this conversation coming up next with Coach Quintero, who's going to join the show really quickly. San Diego Sports 760, my goodness, has 9 chances for you to win $1,000 every week with the Bonus Bucks contest. Listen every hour, 9 a.m. through 5 p.m. Listen for the keyword, then enter it at sportssd.com. Next chance to win $1,000 coming up soon on San Diego Sports 760. 33 minutes until your next chance to win it. Coach Quintero comes on to the show next. That's coming up. Jonathan Rifkind and Sammy Long. This is San Diego Sports 760, and we're live on the iHeartRadio app.
The sport's sponsored by Wendy's new Biggie Deals. Padres taking on the Diamondbacks in a 2-game set down in Mexico City for the next 2 nights, tomorrow and Sunday. And then the Lakers taking on the Rockets. First game in Houston after the Lakers take a 2-0 series lead. That game is at 5 o'clock. Houston's an 8.5-point favorite. Austin Reaves could potentially return tonight. He has been upgraded to questionable after dealing with that oblique injury. And the NFL draft gets back going at 4 o'clock. The San Francisco 49ers, after trading back out of the first round, hold the first pick of the second round tonight. Choose one of Wendy's new Biggie Deals at $4, $6, and $8. Pick one of the new Biggie Deals you're craving for a pretty biggie deal. Got to be Wendy's. U.S. price participation may vary.
Sports 760, taking you into the weekend. Sammy Long, Jonathan Rifkin, delighted to be with you. Coach Quintera is joining the show. I haven't talked to Coach John Quintera in quite some time. There's a million things. I could derail this off the bat and ask him about the Indoor Football League, because I know that he and Steve Quiss have been on top of that with the San Diego Strike Force. But I think we should start off with the Padres. Coach, what do you think?
Yeah, Jonathan, good to hear your voice, buddy. Hope all's well in your world. And you and Sammy tuned in here at the top of the hour. You guys off to a good start today. So a lot of good things to talk about. Again, hope all things is well. We got to talk about the Padres. How about that miraculous comeback? An old Coors Field special yesterday in the 9th inning with 5 runs and getting that home run by Gavin Sheets. That's just a very, very happy flight, I would imagine, to Mexico City last night.
Coach, when you look at this Padres team, because like you give them all the credit in the world, they're winning all these ball games. It hasn't always looked the prettiest, and some people have kind of mentioned that they're taking advantage of a softer schedule. Do you think they're overperforming right now, or this is really just who they are?
I don't know if they're underperforming. I'm a big believer, really, in all sports, Sammy, that you play who you got to play, and you catch some teams at a good time, but you get some teams at a bad time that are really hot. Like tonight you got the Cubs coming in to take on the Dodgers. Dodgers look kind of struggling a little bit in that series against the Giants. They got a Cubs team coming in that's won 9 in a row, and then I guess if you're playing the Phillies or maybe the Mets right now, you feel you're catching them at the right time. So, Padres are winning the games on their schedule right now, but they're certainly not a perfect baseball team in any way, shape, or form. Starting pitching a major concern right now. And I think, getting Machado and getting, some of these guys to swing the bat. I mean, your third baseman's hitting 195, your second baseman's hitting 167. Your first baseman's hitting 223, so it's not like they're knocking the ball all over the ballpark right now.
Well, so let's talk about that then, Coach. Like, what's your evaluation? There are people all over the place that are convinced that Fernando Tatis will never hit a home run again. What do you think it's an identity shift with the new manager in the clubhouse? Do you think it's trying to figure out, just 2026 in the feel of it? Do you think that, this is maybe just them being inside their own heads, meaning Machado and Tatis and some of these other players that aren't necessarily performing offensively the way that we know that they can? Or is there really something that is more concerning going on here that might end up being a motif throughout the season?
Well, let's start with Fernando. I mean, if Fernando doesn't homer in one of these 2 games down in Mexico City with a high altitude, you can't get the ball in the air, I'm going to be probably a little bit more concerned. He's hitting a lot of balls to the right side right now, a lot of ground balls actually. And, so he's hitting 250. And, we talk more about Fernando's defense than we do offense, which, 4 years ago, I would have never thought that would have been the case. And I know he's a Gold Glove winner and a Platinum Glove winner, but, offensively, he's okay. Nothing to write home about. I can tell you that. I think, there's some things he does well right now as a hitter, and there are other things he's not doing well. And I think one of them, he's letting the ball get deeper, putting the ball in play. But, I don't think they signed him to a long-term contract to have him be an opposite field hitter hitting, in the the top part of the lineup. I think his stance is a little bit different right now. I think he's having a hard time getting the front side opened. And, I don't want to get too much in the mechanical end of it because on radio it doesn't play real well. But there's some things mechanically I think he can do. Jackson Merrill, I can tell you right now, he got to make some adjustments. They're pounding him with high fastballs. He can't get to them. Struck out 3 times yesterday, and I watched him the day before, and he's just having a hard time getting to the high fastball. And that scouting report gets around the league, and until he makes that adjustment, he's going to see a lot of those pitches. Manny's bat speed just looks off to me. His timing's completely off right now. As you get older, you're going to lose bat speed. You've got to compensate one way or the other, and I think he may be going into that part of his career right now. And, he looks a little frustrated right now at the plate. And, we could go through, Cronenworth, I think, has actually made some adjustments. His swings have been a little bit better the last couple of games, but you got to stay on top of the baseball. He drags the barrel through the hitting zone a little bit too much. So, there's things to work on with all those guys. Those guys are not going to hit 195, 167, 211 all year. But they've got to make some adjustments, all of them. It's not just, a guy's going to come out of it. You got to work and work on some things and know what to work on. And, they got a new hitting coach. He's never been a hitting coach at the big league level, Steven Sousa Jr. I'm sure he knows a lot about hitting or he wouldn't have got this job. But they got their hands full right now. I mean, Fermin's not hitting anywhere near what he's capable of hitting. He's hitting, I think in the 180s or 170s after yesterday. So, and then the pitching, let's face it, signing Giolito was a good sign. Griffin Canning, not a good rehab outing the other night, guys, with El Paso. He didn't get through the second inning. They got to make a decision what they're going to do with him on May 3rd on the rehab. They're going to keep him down in AAA or bring him up. So a lot of decisions to be made by a ball club right now that starts the day tied for first place.
Coach, our Lakers playing good right now, up 2-0. Austin Reaves potentially back tonight. Are you surprised that they're up 2-0? Like, where would this rank in LeBron accomplishments for you if he was to get this done in a series by himself, if Luka doesn't end up returning?
Well, it's kind of funny, Sammy. I mean, we watched the games all year long, and, they've had so many games without, all 3 of those guys, Reaves and Doncic and LeBron. And so this team has learned to play without those guys. And LeBron has done a great job. You go back to game 1, he became a real facilitator, got Luke Kennard involved. And, I think you got to get Rob Pelinka takes a lot of heat. Okay. And I haven't probably over the years been the biggest fan of him. But anyways, you got to give him credit for picking up Luke Kennard. He's had 2 really, really good games so far in the playoffs. But, the other night, a lot of bully ball played by LeBron in his 28-point effort. Tonight it'll be interesting. But, the other guys step up. Hachimura stays more involved. DeAndre Ayton plays a little bit more involved. And I'd like to see him get an opportunity, a few more touches down on the low post tonight. He's working awful hard right now. And you got to reward those big guys when they're working hard in the post and running the court. But, Lakers are playing well. Kevin Durant didn't play in game 1. That obviously benefited the Lakers. It looked like he was going to tear the Lakers apart in game 2. He had 20 in the first half. He had 1 point in the third quarter and 2 in the fourth quarter. So a total of 23, but only 3 in the second half. So, Lakers are doing a lot of good things right now. And it'll be interesting tonight to see the crowd in Houston, how they respond. Lakers come out, jump on them early. Maybe they'll roll up the towel and take their ball and go home tonight. We'll have to wait and see. As far as Austin playing, that may be just a little gamesmanship there, letting Ime Udoka and his staff have to worry about Austin Reaves, maybe make some adjustments in their shoot around this morning. If he plays, great. If he's healthy, even better. But I'm not going to hold my breath that he's playing tonight.
Coach, let's move down the 110, then down south the 105 to Inglewood, where the Rams drafted Ty Simpson last night, 13th overall. What was your impression of that pick?
Well, Jonathan, a very interesting pick, and I actually like it. I watch a lot of college football, and I watched Ty Simpson as the year went on. I thought, and I know Alabama wasn't the typical Alabama, but I thought he kind of regressed a little bit. Was I surprised that he declared for the draft? Nowadays I'm not surprised at anything that goes on in amateur sports or professional sports. I'm never really surprised anymore. But he declared, and I'll tell you what, he couldn't be going to a better organization with a better head coach. I mean, and a guy that knows how to develop quarterbacks. He can sit there for a year or two and he'll get his opportunity. Matthew Stafford's not going to play forever, but I thought it was a great pick by the Rams. And obviously, Les Snead's had very good history as a GM drafted, but you know that Sean McVay signed off on this one in a big way. So I think it's going to benefit the organization, but I think it's really going to benefit Simpson as his career gets underway.
Coach, what was maybe it's Ty Simpson, but what pick jumped out to you last night? Like, who do you think got a steal that people maybe aren't talking about enough?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I'd like to talk about Chris Johnson a little bit. You guys were mentioning in the update the 49ers didn't have a first-round pick, and they've got the first pick tonight in the second round. About after Game 5, Sammy, I've got a good relationship with John Lynch. I text him before every game about an hour and a half before a game, wish him good luck. Johnny and I are extremely close, having coached him at Torrey Pines for, 3 years. And we've stayed in contact, and I coached his brother and worked for his dad. So, I stay in contact with those guys quite a bit. And I had written Johnny a text message telling him to keep his eye on Chris Johnson. I really thought Chris was having a great year. And, to see Chris go last night with the 27th overall pick to the Miami Dolphins. And what made that really unique, because I texted Johnny and told him, hey, you got to keep your eye on this guy. And Johnny always keeps his eye on San Diego guys. He's a San Diego guy. But it kind of legitimized what I thought earlier in the year, that Chris was worthy of a high draft grade. So I felt good. I was patting myself on the back last night on that one. But when you go back and look at the history of San Diego State, they've had a lot of guys play in the NFL. A lot of them have been offensive guys. They've had a lot of defensive guys as well. But think about this. The last time a San Diego State defensive player was taken in the first round by the NFL draft, way back in 1972, Willie Buchanan, who's still living here in Oceanside and doing well, he was the last Aztec drafted on the defensive side of the ball in the first round. So Chris Johnson broke that last night, and wish Chris the very best with the Miami Dolphins.
Really exciting stuff, Coach. Appreciate your insight, your time. It's always a treat when we can catch up, and have a wonderful weekend.
Hey, likewise, Jonathan. Good to hear from you. And Sammy, have a good one.
Yes, sir. You too, Coach.
All right, there he goes. Coach Quintero. You hear him all the time here on this program. When we return, it's time to get to some long shots. How can we win you some money this weekend? Sammy is going to tell you coming up next. Keep it here at San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. Wrapping up hour number 1 here. Fletch and Sammy, San Diego Sports 760. That movie's coming out soon, right?
It came out yesterday.
Oh, came out yesterday. Jonathan Rifkind. It
got killed in Rotten Tomatoes, but I'm so excited. I think I'm gonna go see it tonight.
I've been doing this thing where I'll go on Rotten Tomatoes and find movies that the critics hated and the fans love, and then I'll go watch them. And I've learned that I think that you should typically go with the fans, because none of us who haven't carved out a career in reviewing movies don't see the same things.
Right, because
so like, why diminish the experience?
No, this is a great point, because like this movie tonight, like I think later on tonight after the Lakers and draft and everything, I'm gonna go, and it's like I'm going to enjoy because I'm a Michael Jackson fan. So like if I'm not going for a masterpiece of an Oscar-winning film, but they're gonna be playing Billie Jean and Bad,
fun. You're gonna have a great time.
It's gonna be fun. Whereas right, some people go into it expecting some moving performance, which is what the critics are looking for, so it gets killed in ratings and Rotten Tomatoes. But I'm with you. There's a lot of movies that, especially when it comes to, I mean, this isn't a comedy movie, but comedy movies, if the critics like it, it's usually not very funny, and if the critics don't like it, usually the public finds it funny.
I just went with Jenna to this, what's the something in Tuscany? That rom-com that's out. By the way, entertaining. You might need to take an edible before you go, but it's totally entertaining. And like, you don't get to see rom-coms anymore. And the theater was full. There were 3 people on their phone throughout the entire movie, but that's I won't get into that another time. But speaking of the review thing really quickly, because this comes to mind, like I look at Yelp reviews this way too. Like I have friends, we'll have those people in our lives who like look at every single review before they pick out a place, right? Number 1, I have decision fatigue right off the bat, so that's not happening. Number 2, why are we letting other people dictate our experiences? If you hate it, you hate it. At least you have the experience and you know. Like you could read a bunch of crappy reviews about something and then miss an opportunity to add value to your life. So why are we letting what other people say and dictate? And they're like, and also like they could be going in with some bias or negative. Like all of these things, and we are letting it influence our lives, and it drives me nuts.
When it comes to food, outside of this place is unsanitary, and like I don't really care. Right. Now
try it out.
If there's a lot of people who are like, this place is awful, then we're going to start having some concerns. But if you go on Yelp, half the time, if you actually look at the reviews, it's like, oh, I hated our server, or oh, I didn't get my money back. I'm like, that has nothing to do with how good the food is. So you kind of got to read the fine print there.
And also reviews are typically, they lean towards the negativity anyways. Like you go on Google, like, so let me ask you this really quickly. Like when you go and you research something, you know, like the Google stars, right? 4, 3.5, 4.5, 5, whatever. How low is the star count have to be before you start to think like, oh, maybe I should check the reviews?
I think if a restaurant, if a restaurant is 3 stars or less, I start getting a little like, okay, like why? Like there's obviously something going on here. Like there's something, I don't know. Are we cooking the food fully? Like, do we know what we're doing? Am I gonna get salmonella? That's when I start getting a little concerned.
I will say though, some of the best restaurants I've ever been to, not like, you know, a fine dining, like just like
hole in the wall
street food, they are B ratings. Like they don't have A ratings. Like the health inspector found problems with the establishment. They're still open, but they have a B rating, and the food was incredible. Like I literally was eating at a Thai place once in Point Loma that had a cockroach like just chilling on the
lawn. Oh, see, I could not do that.
It was some of the best green curry that I've had outside of Thailand. So like, you know, we do what we can. All right, we got 2 minutes. Let's get to long shots.
Hold on, I'm getting imaging. Hold on.
Sorry, that's my fault. I thought we were ready.
You looking for some luck? Want to win big? Gotta play big.
You are so money and you don't even know it.
Time to take a chance.
Pay that man his money.
With long shots.
All right. Rifkin's going to give a pick as well. So JRif's got something cooked up over there. We're heading to the NBA tonight. All right, San Antonio and Portland. Now, San Antonio is a 2.5-point road favorite in this one. I am rocking with Portland because they need this game. If they lose this game and Wemby's not playing, they're done. They'll lose in 5 games because you have to win this one. Portland's on fire right now. The city's, I mean, the Denny Advia has been playing phenomenal. Scoot Henderson, 31 points the other night. I mean, this team is finally playing collective basketball. Donovan Clingan, underrated pick out of UConn. And I have major concerns with the San Antonio Spurs, how they're going to operate without Victor Wembanyama, because they had a 14-point lead in that fourth quarter, and they had no one to stop the bleeding when Portland went on a run. They usually dump it down to Wemby. They're not going to have him tonight. I think this is a close game, but considering we're getting points at home, give me the Portland Trailblazers. All right. The Celtics and the Sixers. Now, Boston's an 8.5-point favorite in this game. Again, I'm going to take Philly in the points. I think the Celtics win. I think the Celtics do win this game, but 8.5 is a big number. I mean, the Celtics are going to come out with their hair on fire after that pretty awful performance in game 2. But Tyrese Maxey, VJ Edgecombe playing excellent defense. He was much more aggressive in that second game versus that first game, which was the difference. Kelly Oubre, Paul George, Trendon Watford, Andre Drummond. There is a lot of veteran presence on this team. I do think JRif Celtics actually win the game, but 8.5 points in Philly. This, again, is their shot. They got to win game 3 to make this a series. Andre Drummond has to be more aggressive. I think they come through, at least cover the spread, plus 8.5. And then I'm going to give a UFC pick, and then I want to hear Rifkin. All right, we got a UFC fight card. We got Aljamain Sterling fighting Yusuf Zalal. Now, Aljamain Sterling was former champ in the UFC, had that great fight against Sugar Sean O'Malley where Sugar Sean O'Malley KO'd him in the second round. Came out after the fight. Sugar Sean actually had an injury, so if Aljamain Sterling had grappled with him, he probably would have lost. Look, Aljamain's getting up there in age, later 30s. Zalal is the favorite in this at minus 130. I am going to roll with Sterling, though, at plus 110. Zalal is a great striker, so he actually lost his UFC contract, was on a 4-fight winless streak. Then over the last couple of years has completely rebuilt his stock. He's a great boxer. He can switch hits, switch stances. But when you face a grappler, it's like in boxing, when you face a boxer versus a puncher. In the UFC, when you face a grappler versus a puncher, a lot of the times the grappler wins. Aljamain Sterling only has one loss at that 145-pound division. Give me Aljamain Sterling plus 110 on the money line to get it done Saturday night.
Well, you just said a bunch of things that I don't know. I have no idea what you're talking about, and I'm about to say a bunch of things that you won't know what I'm talking about. But really cool. I'll make it quick. So Premier League, there's a fight for something called promotion relegation in Europe. Bottom 3 teams get relegated to the next division. Top 3 teams in the next division get relegated to the top division. Right now, 2 teams in the top 10 in budgets in that league are on the brink of relegation. West Ham United, who has the 10th best budget in the Premier League, are 20 teams, and Tottenham, who is the 6th best budget in the league, and was a favorite coming into the year as one of the top 5 teams in the league. Both those teams could potentially get relegated, which would be absolutely nuts. If Tottenham got relegated, it would be like the Minnesota Timberwolves playing in the G League, essentially. So West Ham has a match against Brentford, I think. No, Everton. Everton is a plus 200. I'm taking Everton plus 200. West Ham loses, and they're going to be the 3rd team to get potential team to get relegated out of the Premier League. That's going to drop them below Tottenham. So I'm taking Everton plus 200.
Did you just question my Premier League picks, my Premier League moneyline picks?
Yes, I did. Without a doubt. So
I'm putting faith in Jonathan Rifkin.
The reason that I sped through that is because I got a text, and it was telling me that I'm doing a bad job on something. All right. Coming up in hour number 2, Steve Hartman at 1:30. Also going to chat a little bit more about the draft, the Padres, and all things NBA. Sammy Long, Jonathan Rifkin, San Diego Sports 760.
This report is sponsored by the Positive Coaching Alliance. SDFC lost to Houston the other night, 1-0. They'll be taking on Portland. That game will be at 6:30 on Saturday. Of course, we will have it right here on San Diego Sports 760. They are currently a -130 favorite to win outright. Lakers back tonight, taking on the Houston Rockets. Per report, Austin Reaves is trying to play, going to test it in warmups and see if he can go against the Rockets in H-Town tonight. Rockets are an 8.5-point favorite. If you have questions about youth or high school sports, Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA builds better athletes and better people through sports. Info at positivecoaching.org.
We will start from the beginning.
I'm Ben Fletcher. That's Sammy Long.
Those goofy bastards are just about the best thing I've got going in this crazy world.
They never make it easy.
Sheets hits one in the air to right field, down the line. That ball is back, and that ball is gone! 3-run home run for Gavin Sheets.
A big comeback win in Colorado for the Padres.
On the ground to third base, Machado to second for one, on to first. Double play ends the ball game. Padres win.
The Padres head down to Mexico for a pair versus the Diamondbacks. SDFC looks to get back on track at home against Portland. And what was the biggest surprise in round one of the NFL draft? My vote is...
With the 13th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Rams select Ty Simpson, quarterback, Alabama.
I'm really confused.
We react to what happened in Pittsburgh last night. The weekend begins inside the studios of San Diego Sports 760 in the zone with Fletch and Sammy.
Hour number 2 here on San Diego Sports 760, live on that fresh iHeartRadio app. Sammy Long, Jonathan Rifkin. I'm filling in for Ben Fletcher, who's up about 25 over par on the golf courses. On the YouTube text, that Fletch is golfing with Ornberger and TD. Probably hammered.
Yeah,
Probably.
Rich McGuire checking in that he's drunk. Jay Silves calling him a slacker. Agreed, 100%.
Now, Sir Will is trying to get in here on the betting on the long shots. Padres hit over 5 home runs this weekend in Mexico City. Over under. I'm going with Coach Quintero said if they don't hit bombs at altitude in Mexico, then we should be concerned. So you know what, Sir Will 619. I'm going over. I'm gonna try to manifest this home run fest for the Padres.
It's hard. So they got 2 games against Arizona. So they got to hit 3 and 2.
Who's pitching in that series? Because Arizona, the front end of their bullpen is rotation is very good.
Let's look that up
because check this out really quick.
I mean, the hard part is Fernando's not hitting home runs. Machado's not hitting home runs.
He's not hitting anything.
The fringe pieces now. Yeah, 5's an interesting number. I mean,
how many games do they have down there? 3?
2. They're playing. So Zach Gallen going tomorrow.
Let me think about this now. I was thinking it was a 3-game series.
Zach Gallen and Ryan Nelson. I don't know. Ryan Nelson's an underrated pitcher. Zach Gallen's their ace. So 5's an interesting number. I feel like the first inclination, I hope it's true, they go over because it's Mexico City in the elevation.
I'm changing my mind.
I feel like this.
I'm changing my mind.
I feel like Vegas is baiting us a little bit to go over.
I'm taking I have to. Like a 2-game series, that means their 1 and 2 starters are pitching in the series. Gallen is a fantastic pitcher. Wicked fastball, almost cussed. I guess I could have said that. It's fine. Yeah, I'm sad that I just got convinced in all of 45 seconds to change my thought here. But yeah, we're going to go. I think it has to be under if we're being serious about this.
The Padres are an interesting spot because, again, they're winning all these ball games. You give them all the credit in the world. They're up there with the Dodgers. The Dodgers are not playing good baseball right now. I've had a lot of injuries. Mookie Betts, Edwin Diaz, Blake Snell. Freddie Freeman was out for paternity list. Like they're missing a lot of guys, and yet the Dodgers are not playing great baseball. And at the end of the day, all you can ask for the Padres is to win ball games. So it's hard to come on here and but if in poke holes, but. Fletch and I had Danny Vieti on from CBS Sports who covers baseball yesterday, and he was kind of raising some red flags about some of the underlying metrics about, they're not hitting for power. It's coming from it's just kind of how you look at it, because the one way to look at it is look at the Padres. It's Luis Campusano. It's Ramon Laureano. It's their starting rotation actually holding up a lot better than a lot of people would have given them credit for heading into the season. The bullpen's money. And they're still winning games with Machado, Merrill, and Tatis having a combined OPS in the 700s. So it could be a positive way to look at it, that, hey, this team is, you're going to think, get better from your stars. The other way to look at it is it's concerning how long can the Padres actually live with all the fringe pieces doing the bulk of the work and the main stars really not getting it done.
Yeah, according to our friends at Fangraphs, who I really do trust in a lot of these conversations, the Padres are hitting the ball. So they have these different analytics, right? And you said that it's beyond just the basic stats. And that's what baseball is a very nuanced, statistical, somewhat nerdy sport when it comes to trying to dissect exactly what's going on. So Fangraphs has amazing designations. It looks kind of intimidating. And then you can highlight over the different categories and they give a pretty clear idea of what they represent, what they mean, and the impact that they have on the team. So right now, hard percentage, which is a hilarious title, percentage of balls in play that were classified as hit with hard speed. The Padres are actually fourth in the league in that regard. The Dodgers are first, Atlanta, Texas, San Diego. San Diego's hitting 35% in that regard. So they're actually hitting the ball. It's coming hot off the bat. But when you look at where they're hitting it in the field, they're hitting it into spots where, they're not going no man's land. They're going straight. Their grounders going to field. Like, you can hit a ball hard on the ground and it could be a routine ground ball, right? So they are hitting the ball hard, but it's not necessarily going very far, and it's not necessarily hitting the gaps. And I think that that's where they have to start shifting the approach, right? It's like, okay, contact is being made. They're not striking out a ton. They're not taking a ton of, pitches that should be hit, and they're making contact. And the contact is kind of hard, but now it's like, okay, well, how can this now be elevated into consistency and also ball placement in the field? Because those are the two things that are really lacking right now.
Well, I'm excited for this weekend. Zach Gallen, Ryan Nelson, again, is kind of an underrated pitcher. And then you got the Cubs, whose rotation has been decimated. But next week, you're getting two series against teams that are very solid. Diamondbacks are sneaky good and are only going to get better when Corbin Burns comes back. Like, there's some guys that are coming back for them. Marte, Carroll, a lot of talented players out there for Arizona. And then with the Cubs, although the rotation, the bullpen's been ravaged by injuries, still a very talented lineup. So that's the one concern you could give to the Padres, is when they've stepped up and faced elite level starting pitching. Tarek Skubal, Framber Valdez, Paul Skeens. Now, those are the best in the league. So you give a little bit of a grain of salt to them, but in the playoffs are so far away, that is who you're going to have to be facing, have to be beating, if you want to get to where the Padres are expecting to get to. So Zach Gallen's a prime opportunity tomorrow to try to get the bats going and show you can really shell a elite level starting pitcher.
Yeah, there's an analytic called clutch, and it basically is how much better or worse a player does in high leverage situations than he would do in a neutral site environment. And the Padres have the best clutch in the league, which means, to your point, they're stepping up against the talent that the other team is throwing at them, even if that other team is Pittsburgh, right? And that's why there's a dichotomy between them being 29th in the strength of schedule, but also being tied for first in the Western in the division, and the understanding that comes with that. Like, yes, they have had a pretty weak strength of schedule, but like Coach Quintero said, 45 minutes ago, you got to step up and play every single day anyways. This is baseball. This is professional sports. These guys are the top, 0.01% of the people that play their sport. So it doesn't matter what the strength of schedule is. It matters how you show up and how you respond. And the Padres, there are games when they've showed up and they responded, like we saw yesterday, and there are games when they've fallen flat, and you're wondering, where's the offense? Where's Manny Machado? Where's the pop that Fernando Tatis Jr. had in his first couple of years? Right now, you can qualify that if you want, given some of the history of his career, but I don't really want to go into that. So I understand the concerns and the questions surrounding it. I do think, though, if you really dive in, if this is where they are right now and there's more room to improve, that should breed optimism at the end of the day. Like, no matter what, I see where the team is and how they're playing. Like, how can you be anything but optimistic? We're sitting here complaining about the offense, and they're tied for first with the Dodgers right now.
Exactly. And I think it speaks to AJ Preller, the job he's been able to do by getting a lot of these fringe pieces, and the depth is there. I mean, last year was the opposite until the postseason when Tatis and Machado went 2 for 22. Most of the season, we were sitting here going, Merrill struggled because he was injured, but the stars would produce. But where was it on the 7 through 9 part of the order? You would rather take the problem that they have right now, that the stars aren't performing, and they have depth and they have pieces they can go to that they trust. Because if you're counting on Tatis and Machado and Merrill to get it together versus counting on Fermin and Campusano and guys like that to get it together, the chances of Tatis, Merrill, and Machado returning to their old selves are much greater than, star-making performances from guys down the order. So I do think it is a time for optimism right now, and despite kind of nitpicking. But again, that's why I'm really excited for this series against the Diamondbacks and the Cubs, because we get to see them step up in competition a little bit and prove a lot of people wrong.
Speaking of local sports teams, SDFC is back tomorrow night when they take on Portland. That's the Timbers, currently 4 points behind SDFC in the standings. Our coverage with Adrian and Darren begins at 6 p.m. on your home for San Diego Football Club, San Diego Sports 760, and on the iHeartRadio app. The conversation will continue on the other side. Sammy Long, Jonathan Rifkin. This is San Diego Sports 760, and we're live on the iHeartRadio app. Back inside San Diego Sports 760, Jonathan Rifkin, Sammy Long, Ben Fletcher. He's around. He's just not here. Taking you up to Going Long with Sam. You know, Sammy, I love the name of your show, but it implies that either you're able to run really far or you can throw a football really far. And both of those. Now, I am seeing you on the YouTube stream for the first time in a while. You've been working on your traps, man. I can see the
I appreciate
the triceps.
I'm trying to get the Jonathan Rifkin, you know?
You're getting there. I can see the vascularness of your arms. It's coming through. How far can you throw a football? The name of your show implies that you can throw a football pretty far.
Accurately or just chuck it?
Both, I guess. Give us both.
I can get it 40 yards.
You can throw a football accurately, or no, just like whipping it as hard as you can.
As hard as I can. I can get it 40 yards. I haven't done it in a while, but I could get it 40 yards.
Would you pull your shoulder?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I'm retired. No.
Okay, I think that's long enough. I think that's fair. I think that we don't need to change the title.
I'm not
a little concerned.
I'm not a pro NFL quarterback. I'm not a pro college football quarterback. But if I need to serve it, if I need to get out on the football field, I could hold my own. Is what I'm saying.
Okay, so like when USD, when the University of San Diego, a non-scholarship Division I football program, needs like a third string backup, and you could use your eligibility. And
I'm there,
ready to go.
I'll give them. I'll give whatever they need. See,
they love Rancho Bernard Broncos. You'd fit the bill perfectly over there.
Exactly.
On the hill in Linda Vista.
I would look to, if we ever did this in public, throwing the ball, see how far I could throw it. I would want a Jonathan Rifkin type like performance against Ben Fletcher on
so that was my idea, is maybe hardwood and balls classic round 2 instead of basketball. It's some sort of throwing competition.
Do you know Ben got a little feisty the other day and was sitting there. He had a couple monsters and was like, he's like, do you think you could beat me in basketball? I was like, not only do I think I could, I would destroy you.
Your dad was really worried when I played against Fletch that we should have signed a release that Fletch was, because he thought Fletch was going to die.
You know what?
Fletch was heaving after the first game to 7. He thought he was going to die.
Ben, the best part about it is, because I remember listening. I wasn't part of the station, but I was listening all day. And JRif is very humble, just kind of like quietly confident. And Ben is just chirping all day about, I'm gonna mop him. This isn't even because he's eating pizza in the morning, drinking soda, like all stuff. And he was turning a different color. And yeah, my dad was like, "We're done with this. I'm not gonna have Ben Fletcher die on my watch."
It was so. Anyways, I am pitching hardwood and balls classic round 2. I have the trophy. I can get it at the break for the YouTube stream if you're watching. I have the hardwood and balls trophy classic.
I'm trying to think. We should get multiple teams. So Sliwa is now part of the station.
So Sliwa and Schaefer, I'm on your team because I'm filling in for you guys more than I'm doing it.
Yes, I'm claiming Rifkin that we're going to be a dynamic duo. That's
absolutely.
We're not getting beaten. The only chance that Fletch has if he grabs Rich, but we'll just double team Rich and leave Fletch wide open.
I mean, look, man, Brent is more of our station than Rich is at this point. I think Brent would have to be paired with Fletch.
No, Brent would definitely be. Yeah, Brent would be a much better, but Brent and Rich would be much tougher than Brent and Fletch.
Yeah, 100%. Anybody would be tougher than anybody in Fletch.
Yeah, Fletch on the Harbaugh Classic, we're gonna attack him just like they were attacking Jalen Brunson on defense last night for the Hawks. Nice. That's what we're gonna be doing, some ball action, getting Fletch in rotation. That'd be a long day for Ben Fletcher.
Really quickly, as we keep just destroying our defenseless receiver, Ben Fletcher, here in this conversation. Lovely human being who has done a lot for the station, this show, and for me and you personally. You had mentioned that he had a couple of monsters and was feeling feisty the other day. Last time I saw him, and I stayed with him about a month ago, he told me he was no longer doing energy drinks. What happened? Please.
He goes on these little fads for a week and he makes these big claims I'm not doing energy drinks. I'm not doing carbs. And then I catch him sneaking in the break room, munching on stuff. I was like, is that
he's just like in the corner, munching away. Shame.
He got mad at me because, it was 11:30 in the morning, and he was destroying a thing at Cheez-Its. And I happened to walk in because you had just been talking about this diet he's on, And I didn't mean to be a jerk, but I just said, do we think that that's the best choice at 11:30 in the morning? And then he got mad and ran back in here. So I was like, I was about to call you and go, as his life coach, his health coach, and check him for the lies he'd been giving out on the air.
I know, well, because I hear one thing from him, and then I go into the world and I see something completely different. So I don't know what's true and what's false with him. As Rich likes to call him, he's the fountain of misinformation. But I'm also like you said, like I am so invested in his health journey that I feel a part of me is hurt right now that this was the choice that he. Now listen. Maybe we need to get him a probiotic sponsor, right? You guys have amazing sponsors. You got casinos, you got sports, whatever, like apps.
We only sponsor Vices.
Sponsor. Well, okay, having a probiotic every day and caring about your health could be a vice.
I thought it's not all Ben Fletcher's fault. When Travis Dale and Rich Ornberger are making him eat glizzies at Costco, it's not always his fault for his health journey.
Yeah, he's being enabled by his constituents. Rich McGuire does chime in. We all know that it was the Malachi Flynn pep talk that won the Hardwood and Balls Classic. Fletch only at donuts. Yes, Malachi Flynn, we do have it on air. When Jim Russell was doing a little play-by-play of the Hardwood and Balls Classic, Malachi Flynn, who was shooting on the other hoop, after our first game, walks up to me and goes, "I got game 2." And I said, unfortunately, we're on the radio. We're under a time crunch. And by the way, this is one of my biggest regrets in life that I should have said yes. I should have said yes. One possession. You get one possession on offense. I get one possession on offense.
And watch him just swat you into oblivion.
But it doesn't even matter. I would then be able to say that I played one-on-one against an NBA player who scored over 40 points in a game once. And instead I said no to him, which was the dumbest thing I've ever done in my life.
We're going to break, but my favorite part about that from being there is, Rifkin's hitting some shots. Fletch is throwing up air balls left and right. And Malachi Flynn's on the other end of the floor, just draining 20 straight threes. Misses one and is like furious at himself that he misses one, and then just goes on these streaks again. And I got Ben Fletcher just throwing up these one-hand shots, like destroying the San Diego State court practice.
It was
court.
Essentially like the best of an athlete and the worst, the yin and the yang of an athlete in one shot. It was beautiful. It was, yep. Malachi Flynn did walk off the court though on the mic, and Jim Russell's mic had said, "Every time I turn around, that kid's three was going in though." So that was
exactly. It's your claim to fame.
What can I say? Speaking of basketball, we have Lakers Rockets game 4 Sunday night on San Diego Sports 760. Pregame begins at 6:15. We'll tip around 6:30. We'll continue the conversation. Steve Hartman, the legend,
the man,
not a myth because he's real. We'll talk to him coming up next. Sammy Long, Jonathan Rifkin, San Diego Sports 760, and we're live on that iHeartRadio app.
Sports sponsored by Unbound.org. Padres taking on the Diamondbacks in a 2-game set starting tomorrow. Zach Gallen will be on the mound for the Diamondbacks, while German Marquez will go for the Pods in Game 1. Lakers basketball taking on the Houston Rockets, 5 o'clock in Houston. Kevin Durant is questionable, and Austin Reaves, who has not played since that Oklahoma City game 3 weeks ago, has also been upgraded to questionable, is going to try and give it a go tonight. And then we got SCFC back tomorrow night at 6:30, taking on Portland. Hear that game right here on San Diego Sports 760. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org.
Rolling through hour number 2. This is Fletch and Sammy. That is Sammy Long. I'm Jonathan Rifkin, filling in for Ben Fletcher. He's shooting 30 above par right now up north on a golf course somewhere, hopefully representing his entire iHeart family well in some of the stuff that he's doing over there. Probably not, but we'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
How many Coors Lights you can drink is not representing the iHeart family well.
You know what, though? If he's trying to get Coors as a sponsor, it would be representing the iHeart family.
Very true.
He always has our best interest at heart. Somebody else who always has our best interest at heart, Steve Hartman. Man, it's always a pleasure to talk to and catch up with. I never get to, but these guys do all the time. He joins the program now. Steve, how's it going, man?
Jonathan, it is great to hear from you. The great JRif in the house with Sammy today. And yeah, I'm sure Fletch is knee-deep drowning in his favorite adult beverage up there, playing his best brand of golf these days. But we got a million things going on in the sports world, guys.
Yes, we do. So where do you want to start? Now, I think we should go to the NFL draft. I'm curious, the great Steve Hartman's thoughts on Ty Simpson heading to the Los Angeles Rams. If you're Matthew Stafford, would you be pissed today?
Well, I don't know about Matthew Stafford being pissed, but it's pretty obvious that Sean McVay is pissed. I mean, that was unbelievable to see Les Snead and Sean McVay side by side talking about your first round draft pick, and the only response from Sean McVay is, "Yeah, I guess he'll compete with, for the backup job. He'll be there with Stetson competing for the number 2 job." I mean, it was so blatantly obvious that this was a Les Snead move, and definitely not what Sean McVay wanted. I mean, he wanted Malachi Lemon. He wanted to add to the receiving core. They're trying to win a Super Bowl this year. And yet Les Snead gave into apparently the friendship he has with Ty Simpson's dad to make him the 13th overall pick. Look, if you want to pick Ty Simpson, that's great. But you don't take him at 13. You trade down. I mean, there wasn't a team before Pittsburgh at 21 that had any interest, even possible, in Ty Simpson. So there seems to be a house divided, to say the least, with the Rams right now.
So what do you do with that then? Because Sammy made the point earlier, Stafford might be pissed, and they just made this, this move to try and bolster their defense because they couldn't cover Smith and Jigba in the postseason. So they gave the feel this team is trying to bolster what they have now to win now, and then they go and they do this, which tells you that, okay, maybe they're preparing for the future. Can two things be true at the same time? Can they look to win now while also be preparing for the future beyond Matthew Stafford, or is this a conflict in some way?
I think what it means right now is that Sean McVay's out the door. He doesn't want any part of this. If he hasn't earned the clout to have a say in the personnel on this team, if Les Snead is basically shutting him out of the decision-making process. Look, we went through this entire thing. Ty Simpson made it clear he had never spoken to Sean McVay. He had no clue until he literally got the phone call from Les Snead on draft day that the Rams had any interest in him. He never looked at 13. Obviously, he was giddy with excitement and said, wow, Sean McVay, one of the great quarterback coaches of all time. But, I mean, you talk about potentially derailing. I mean, on paper, the Rams are the best team in the NFL, not just the NFC. They are the best team in the NFL on paper. The moves they made to get one of the best corners in the league from the Chiefs, doing everything they can to get ready for a serious Super Bowl run, and then maybe adding one more piece because you have the 13th pick in the draft. I mean, that is a premium draft pick in the first round that they were able to snag. And you use it on a potential quarterback of the future, a guy that only started 1 year of college. And, oh, by the way, his father is a close friend of Les Snead, the general manager. It stinks. And I think right now Sean McVay is looking for an early exit. He wants out. He may go through this 1 year. But this one move could literally derail the Rams when it appeared they were that close to finally getting back and winning another Super Bowl.
Who was your biggest winner last night? Who do you think came out on top and had a nice night?
Sammy, here's the thing. Okay, guys, you don't know this. So in 1998, all right, 1998, Philly Billy and I are doing the show on the old 690, and we're getting anticipated the draft. Chargers have the third pick in the draft, and then they send a bucket load of picks to move up to number 2 because they had to get the guy that everyone said was the best future quarterback in the league, Ryan Leaf. And they got him. And the next day, the San Diego Union Tribune gave the Chargers an A+. So nobody knows what anybody did in this draft, guys. You know, Philly Billy and I started a tradition back in the day. We started grading the drafts 3 years after the draft. How can you grade a draft when none of these guys have played a single game in the league? And it's not guys don't have talent. Everyone has talent, but do they have the right talent for that team, the right talent for that system, the right talent for whatever is going to go on with the organization that they arbitrarily fall into? So, I mean, I would say no one's a winner yet. Call me in 3 years. I'll tell you who the winners were in the 2026 draft.
Let's move from conjecture here to something more tangible, Steve. The Lakers were able to piece together 2 really nice wins to open up their series against Houston. I need the Lakers to sweep for my own selfish interest in broadcasting because I'm tired of getting preempted for their games. And if they go to game 6, I get preempted again. So I'm just like, let's just get rid of this series quickly for my own selfish purposes. But how important do you think it is for the Lakers and the playoff run they're hoping to have a quick series against Houston?
Well, I think the league is going to try to stretch out every series they possibly can, these endless NBA playoffs. Why did they play on Saturday and then play again on Tuesday when they were staying in LA the entire time? They dragged this thing out. Do you realize the 7th games of these opening rounds don't end till May 3rd? I mean, this is absolutely endless how it should be a best 3 out of 5 in the opening round. But that being said, look, Kevin Durant may go down as one of the most overrated players. That doesn't mean he isn't one of the great shooting big men of all time. That cannot be denied. But his ability to lead a team is 0. And so, you know, he sat out the first game. That seemed a little bizarre. Like what happened? He had a knee contusion from practice. Then he comes back in game 2 and commits 9 turnovers in one game. I'm like, what the hell is going on? He's even questionable for the game tonight. So it looks like the league is basically handing the first round on a silver platter for the Lakers to take if they want to, and do expect Austin Reaves to be back in action to some extent tonight. And then, of course, they'll get blown out in 4 straight by OKC, and that'll be the end of it. But, yeah, the league is desperate to move the Lakers on at least one more round because they've got a lot more cachet, believe me, than the Houston Rockets.
Who do you think, as of right now, we've seen a lot of these series be 1-1 out of the Eastern Conference? Do you still see the Celtics, even though they had that game 2 blunder against Philly, or do you see someone else?
Well, first of all, that game 2 blunder is something we've seen from this Celtic team almost every single year in the playoffs. Like every year, they have some stupid hiccup along the way that has cost them opportunities to win a championship. I mean, remember a couple of years ago, they were down 3-0 to the 8th seed Miami Heat, then rallied to win 3 straight only to get blown out at home their final game. I still think the obvious matchup in the finals is going to be the Celtics and the Thunder. I think they are absolutely the 2 best teams in their respective conferences. They should be the 2 teams there at the end. But I see a far more likely scenario that the Celtics somehow self-destruct again. Now, I'm not sure who that's going to be. The Knicks are already down 2-1 in their series to Atlanta. Like, really? What the hell's going on with the Knicks? And I just don't have a great feeling for the Pistons. I still think they're a year away, a player away to be serious contenders. So I'm going to stick with that, though, guys. I think it's going to be Celtics OKC when this is all said and done.
What do you, lastly with Major League Baseball, Dodgers have been flailing a little bit. Padres have a great record, but Fernando Tatis and Manny Machado aren't really hitting the baseball. Do you see this division as possibly competitive, or is this just very early and it's kind of all clumped together?
All right, remind me again of the stats of the Padres closer right now. Can you run some of those stats at me right now?
He's unreal. JRif's pulling it up right now. Yeah, he is a legit Cy Young candidate.
We're talking about like he's making history. What does he have? 27 strikeouts in 11 innings, or what's the crazy numbers he has right now?
It's something like that. JRif, do you have it?
27 strikeouts and 21 and a third innings and a .41 WHIP.
Yeah, it's unreal. Look, I've been saying all year long, the only team that can beat the Dodgers is the Dodgers. But they're in a funk right now, guys. I mean, it's really weird. Yeah, they loaded up, for a couple big run games against the Rockies, and they barely got a split in that series, and they lose the series to the Giants. I mean, I mean, 0 runs yesterday. You're absolutely right. Ohtani, who, of course, is sporting a .5 ERA in 4 starts. So as a pitcher, he's been lights out. But as a hitter, where is he? MIA. And look, they don't have Mookie Betts. They're without some weapons in their lineup right now. So, yeah, I mean, as long as the Padre pitching can hold up and they can get to the most dominant closer in the game today. I mean, if the Padres win this division, he ends up with 60 saves with a .4 ERA. Forget Cy Young, which, by the way, no relievers won the Cy Young since Eric Gagne back in the way. MVP! If the Padres can somehow, win 100 games this year and win the NL West. So I definitely think it's up for grabs right now. The Dodgers seem generally disinterested right now if they continue that way. Sorry, right now, I know the records are tied, but the tie break goes to the Padres. So say it, boys. Padres, first place, San Diego Padres.
All right. How about that? Steve Hartman bringing the heat. Sean McVay wants the one-way ticket out of Los Angeles. Kevin Durant is overrated. And the Padres are first place in the division. Steve Hartman, you make our Fridays better. And personally, it's always a pleasure to catch up, man. Thank you very much.
Jonathan and Sammy, have a great show, guys. Love you and continue the incredible work. All I hear is the amazing buzz. Even with Fletch out, JRif, you do the job. I'm not going to say he's not missed because we all love Fletch. I really am curious, though, if we're going to get an accurate count on how many strokes he had in play today on the golf course.
I never want anything to do with Fletch and strokes. You're the best, Steve. Thank you very much and have a great weekend.
I set you up so beautifully for that line. Bye, guys.
Glad I could alley-oop that lob into the net, into the hoop. Steve Hartman. God, what a guy. What a guy. I'm surprised. I'm in Sherman Oaks all the time. I never run into him. And Fox Sports radio station is like right down the street. Anyways, we're going to wrap things up here on this program. On the other side, Sammy Long, Jonathan Rifkin, fill in for Ben Fletcher. What is this? Oh, Fletch and Sammy on San Diego Sports 760 live on the iHeartRadio app. things down here. San Diego Sports 760 taking you up to go along with Sammy Long at the top of the hour. Sammy, what you got planned for us on your show?
I actually got your guy, Darren Smith, jumping on at 2:30.
Hey.
Talking a little SDFC, a little Padres. We're going to get into the NFL draft, some winners and losers, and the Lakers tonight. So we got a lot going on the next hour.
I'm sure Darren has a lot to talk about with SDFC trying to get back on track tomorrow. It's a good opportunity for them against Portland. Portland's a team that's been railing the last couple of years. This is Portland. The Portland soccer scene is so cool, man. Like, if you ever have an opportunity to get up there and like take in like a Trailblazers game and a Timbers game and a Thorns game, it is a special environment. It's unique. It's unique for that part of the country, but it's a team that's reeling. Their offense is bad. SDFC, I think, has a really good opportunity to get back on track. God willingly, with no red cards, because in 3 of the last 4 matches.
Wait, what has been you're a massive soccer fan, like watching it casually. What is with that, with the red cards? Because there's something to be said for playing feisty, and it feels like something that kind of embodied this team the first year and a half. But it is kind of crazy. It's like gotten completely out of hand.
I mean, Pellegrino's red card straight. I mean, like sometimes the angles are rough, and if you're going for an ambitious play on the ball, right, you put your cleat up spikes out, and you make contact with an opponent's face. Like, yeah, you're going to get a straight red. That is not malicious. But these second yellow cards, it feels like there's discipline. Like there's a discipline dichotomy between like what's expected and what's happening. And the players, I think, are feeling that a little bit. And also, like, when you have this magical first season and there's all this dopamine and oxytocin that's associated, like these chemicals and like about that make this whole thing magical, all of those are gone now. Like now this is officially a soccer team. They did something amazing next year. There's a target on their back, and I think it's just a bit of a different fuel right now, and they're still adjusting to that. So by no means do I think that this team is not a contender. I certainly think they're still a contender in the West. And it's funny that you said that I'm a huge soccer fan. I was in a conversation. I'm doing a bunch of soccer stuff right now, not necessarily play-by-play, but related. And someone's like, like, I want to be involved with it, but I'm not really a huge fan like you. I've only been a fan for a couple of years. I'm like, I've only been a fan for a couple of years because I was the only one who could sit there and listen to Darren talk for 3 hours about soccer. And like, that's just like kind of how it happened. So I just wanted to bring it full circle back to your guest that's coming up here in your show, because Darren knows how to make people fans. He did it for me, and he's doing it for a lot of San Diego.
Yeah, well, it's obviously cool seeing the impact that SCFC has had on the city, and with the World Cup coming to the States here, in a month and a half. I mean, that's always a really exciting time just as an event. Hopefully the U.S. have had some terrible friendlies as of recently, but like that, it does feel like it's a real turning point for soccer in the U.S. Like the MLS has been growing, gaining popularity, certainly here in San Diego, and then to have the World Cup come, like this is kind of a big time for soccer growth in the United States. But
100%.
We'll see if the United States men's team can hold up their end of the bargain.
Well, now that Lamine Yamal is ruled at least out for the first part of the World Cup, Spain has dropped off as the favorite. I don't think that elevates the U.S.'s chances at all. But it makes things a little bit more interesting, and maybe teams compete up on each other, and the U.S. sneaks into the knockout rounds and you get a favorable matchup. And we're not quite there yet. The U.S. academy system's catching up, and like Southern California is so fruitful, right? San Diego, I'm calling games for a team that has 2 guys from San Diego in the MLS Next Pro, right? Like there's when SCFC gets their Next Pro team going and they get their academy going, you're going to see like that culture that you're talking about. It's going to elevate to the national team. Like we're still like a World Cup cycle away from really seeing that being put into effect, because it takes a couple of years to develop and to build those pipelines. But I think that Southern California specifically, and where San Diego FC is operating in, is going to be a huge part in like the successful future of the U.S. men's soccer national team. So it's very exciting. SCFC tomorrow night taking on Portland in a not a must-win match, but when you're sitting in 10th, and now we're getting into May, you want to get into this FIFA World Cup break with some momentum, because a month and a half break's a long time to be away from your sport. Some of these guys are going to go play for their national teams. That's a different feel for that. Hopefully nobody gets injured. They come back more motivated and ready to go. But it's going to be a weird season. And right now, just trying to stack those wins as much as possible is the name of the game. So big opportunity tomorrow night to get that done against Portland. Sammy will talk more with Darren about that coming up on his show. This has been a fun time. I've really enjoyed it, Sammy.
Yeah, I love having you on, man. I love having Ben Fletcher as a punching bag. This is a lot of fun for me.
Well, anytime you need to build yourself up by bringing Fletch down, just hit me up. I'm happy to provide an assist in that regard. But Fletch has done way too much for me, and in all seriousness, I'm really grateful for him, because without him,
we love Fletch.
Absolutely. And we love you, Sammy, and we love Steve Harmon, and we love Coach Quintera, and we're grateful for them joining the show as well here today. I want to give a big thanks to Mary and Mike as well for trusting me as always with this spot. Jonathan Rifkind saying goodbye. So long. Have a great weekend. You're on San Diego Sports 760. Lots of great sports action. SDFC tomorrow on the station. Lakers on Sunday on the station. Coming up next, though, Sammy Long takes the reins for Going Long with Sammy Long. Enjoy the rest of your Friday.
The support is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. The Padres are off today. They start their Mexico City series tomorrow against the Diamondbacks. In NBA news, we got 3 more games today in the playoffs. Boston at Philadelphia at 4 o'clock. We got Lakers Rockets at 5 and Spurs Blazers at 7:30. And of course, the NFL draft day 2 will begin at 4 o'clock, where we'll have just rounds 2 and 3 today, I believe. For victims of drunk and drugged driving, your grief is unique, but you're not alone. You'll always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
Going long with Sammy.
That's going to be hot.
In depth on the story of the day. Plus, it's warm in the hot seat.
Lots to get to today. A lot going on in the sports world. We got the NFL draft. You just heard Brent say it. Round 2 and 3 start tonight. Crazy round 1, which we're going to get to here in a second. We got the Lakers taking on the Rockets tonight. Game 3. Austin Reaves might be playing in this game. We just got a status update. He was upgraded to questionable. Sounds like he is going to try and give it a go tonight. And going to take a look at the entire NBA playoffs as a whole. And then we got Darren Smith jumping on at 2:30, talking some Padres, talking some SDFC. SDFC falling to 10th in the Western Conference. How do they get out of this rut? What needs to change going forward? Really excited to get to talk to Darren at 2:30. And then, of course, Schaefer and Sliwa will hop on here in a little bit. All right. But first, we're going to the NFL draft. What a night 1. So there's a lot of unknown going into that night 1 because outside of Fernando Mendoza, there was not really much we knew. We literally didn't know who the number 2 overall pick was going to be until the Jets made the pick, and it being David Bailey. And I want to go through the whole first round and what it means for tonight. But I want to start off with the hottest topic that's going on all around, certainly Southern California, is the fact that the Los Angeles Rams took Ty Simpson last night at number 13. A lot has been made. If you saw the clips, Sean McVay didn't look too thrilled about it post-game or post-draft. And I think that was a little bit blown out of proportion, but there's been a lot going back and forth on that today. Some people are like, I understand the thinking if you're a Rams fan. In Texas, 70470, start your message with team. 70470, start your message with team. We got 858 was at the draft saying it's way better in person. If you're a massive NFL fan, you got to come check it out. Some other text rolling in we'll get to here in a second. But I understand the flack off the jump for the Rams move, because if you're the Los Angeles Rams, get trade for Trent McDuffie from the Chiefs. You are 1 game away in the NFC Championship game, 1 4th down conversion away from being in the Super Bowl. And probably would have mopped New England. I guess we'll never know. But knowing that you go out, you get Trent McDuffie because Jackson Smith and Jigba torched you in the NFC Championship game for the Seahawks. And then you have a rare 13th overall pick because you had the Falcons pick this season. And you go with the quarterback, where Mekhi Lemon was sitting there. Multiple offensive tackles were sitting there. They could have used the receiver and Lemon, like I just mentioned. Offensive line help, could have added another pass rusher. I mean, there's so many places they could have gone here. And then you go take the quarterback. I'm kind of split on how I feel about this today because, again, if I was a Rams fan and I'm like, I want to win a Super Bowl this year, which they have, if not the best roster in the NFL, they're the odds-on favorite to win it next year, I would be frustrated because you do feel like there is a impact playmaker that the Rams are missing that they could have gotten at number 13. On the other side of things, you always want to take a quarterback when you don't need a quarterback. And we can't really evaluate this pick because until like 5 years from now, if Ty Simpson's a franchise guy, then the Rams will look like a genius. They got him at number 13. And when will the Rams likely be picking in the top 10 in the foreseeable future? I mean, unless Matthew Stafford, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Jared Verse, these guys are ripping ACLs, they're not going to be picking in the top 10. They're projected to be vying for Super Bowls. So you're not going to be in a situation where you're likely going to be in on all the top quarterbacks next year. Dante Moore from Oregon, Arch Manning from Texas, Lenoris Sellers from South Carolina, Jaden Mayaba from USC. That's CJ Carr from Notre Dame. That's just to name a few. They're not likely going to be in the position to take the quarterback. So if you think this is the guy and the Rams think that this is the guy moving forward to succeed Matthew Stafford, then it's hard for me to kill it. So I'd love to hear from everybody. Text 70470, start your message with team. Do you like what the Rams did? Ty Simpson's a unique prospect, and he played at Alabama, had a great trio of wide receivers, the Ryan Williams, Jeremy Bernard, who's going to go here in the second round today. They had an awful running game. So it's kind of hard to evaluate him because they had no running game to support him. Turn the ball over a little bit, but you wonder if that's because he had to throw so much in these games. New head coach in Kalen DeBoer. So that was kind of the big shock in round one is the Ty Simpson pick. Looking at kind of the rest of how the first round played out, I mean, I think the Eagles, it makes me sick, but the Eagles getting Mekhi Lemon, I think was an absolute steal. Brent, I don't know if you saw the Pittsburgh was on the phone with him, about to make the pick, and then all of a sudden the Eagles jumped up with the Dallas Cowboys, by the way, at number 20 to make that selection. I think that's a big ad for Jalen Hurts. Takes a lot of the pressure off the AJ Brown storyline, assuming he's going to get traded here in a month. And then I look also at the division rivals. I look at the Dallas Cowboys as big winners last night. And it's easy to rip the Dallas Cowboys. Gino and I were talking about it yesterday. It's easy to blast them. But if you sit here a year ago, not even a year ago, and they traded Micah Parsons and Jerry Jones getting eviscerated, how do you trade a generational pass rusher? The defense is awful to start the season. And it made it look even worse because the offense with Dak Prescott, George Pickens, and CeeDee Lamb gave you a lot and kept them in games because the offense was one of the best in the NFL. You go out, you get Quinnen Williams, you get Rashawn Gary, you get a couple players there on the defensive front. And it finally comes to fruition last night. You take Caleb Downs, the star safety from Ohio State, who's going to be a plug and play star down in Dallas in the back end of that defense. And then you get a pass rusher out of UCF who has some really high upside and something that you could really look for for going forward. The Giants got a couple picks, with Reaves and Malioga. And so the first round was interesting last night because so many pass rushers were going. And I think you saw the trends. We see this every year. And usually it's with quarterbacks. Usually it's with a quarterback goes and then all of a sudden every team's rushing up because they got to have a quarterback. We saw this with tackles. At 10, the Giants took Malioga. Then you had the Dolphins get Caden Proctor, and then it just felt like one after another. They were going all in that teens range. And then you had a bunch of teams trading out of the first round. You had the Bills trade back a couple times. You had the Bills trade back a couple times. You had the Niners trade back. They're going to be the first on the clock tonight. So a lot going on there. And I think it showed some maturity from some of those teams. If you listen to the show, I am not a big Josh Allen Buffalo Bills fan. I do have to give Brandon Beane a little bit of credit for knowing that he's gotten crushed for not developing talent and trading back high in the second round tonight. There's a lot of big time receivers still available, a lot of big time pass rushers, and the Niners picking up some selections as well. It showed a lot of growth, I think, from teams in the 20s when all the tackles that a lot of these teams wanted, the Bears, the Chiefs were throwing out smoke screens, the Bills, the Niners went in those teens. Then they kind of traded out of the first round last night. So a lot of talent on the board right now. Brent, what kind of stood out to you last night in terms of the draft?
The Rams situation stood out. And that happened when I was driving home and I had Fox on, and Glazer's explanation kind of made sense. He went along the lines of what you were getting at about when's the next time, he was told, we don't know when the next time we're going to be, this far up in the draft, because everyone was, I guess, drilling the Rams about, well, what about next year? Because of, Arch and all those other guys, they're like, but we don't know where we're going to pick next year. What if we're 27th or something next year? Then it's not even going to be a possibility. So in a way, it makes sense. Lots of quarterbacks that sit have a pretty good track record. Aaron Rodgers turned out all right on the field when he had to sit. Right. And, I think Mahomes sat like 6 or 7 games before he got.
Mahomes sat the entire season outside of the last game against Denver.
So there's nothing wrong with that. And so that was one of them. I felt for the dude that got drafted by the Jets at number 2.
Oh, Bailey.
Yeah. Just because, you kind of feel for anyone that gets drafted by the Jets.
Well, so
they're like the joke organization of the entire league now.
Well, that was fun. So funny you mentioned the Jets. So the Jets came out big winners last night, right? Because they get Bailey, they get Sadiq, tight end from Oregon, and they trade back up, get Omar Cooper Jr., the receiver from Indiana, late. I give the Jets some credit in this. The Jets will not be a good team this year. They have Geno Smith at quarterback. They are in a position where they will be likely taking Arch Manning or Dante Moore or any of those guys at the top of the draft next year. And you like what they're doing because something that your Bears were involved with the Carolina Panthers when they traded for the number 1 pick to get Bryce Young, they traded the Bears DJ Moore. And it took Bryce Young a while to get acclimated and he had no one to throw to. I mean, usually when you're a star quarter or you're a top tier quarterback in the draft, you're going to bad teams that lack talent. So I give the Jets some credit in that they went out and got a tight end, got a receiver. You still have Garrett Wilson there and Breece Hall. So when you do get your quarterback next year, he's not coming into a Bear cupboard.
I was happy with my Bears pick.
I was going to ask you about Dylan Oregon.
I was happy with it. In the back of my head, I texted my buddy as like, because Chris Johnson was still on the board and the Bears don't really need a corner, but I kind of wanted them to take him anyways because I think he could play safety if they needed him to because I think he's big enough. So I kind of wanted that, but we needed a safety because Brisker left, so we needed to replace safety. So I like that pick.
And he only fell because he's older in the draft. Diamond is a really talented player. A lot of them think he should have been a top 20 pick.
And I think the biggest shock, and it's just not getting a lot of attention because the Rams are going to get all the attention because it's a quarterback and it's the Rams, but it's got to be Minnesota.
Caleb Banks.
Yeah.
That's an odd pick to me. One of the kind of losers.
Jay Glazer was about to have an aneurysm when that happened. He just couldn't figure it out.
Well, he was projected a 2nd round pick. Look, Brian Flores in Minnesota obviously wants to load up on defensive talent, but it just feels a little questionable. It's like you add Kyler Murray. I get it. You got Jefferson, you got Addison, you got TJ Hawkinson, you got a lot of guys there, but taking Banks felt like that you could have certainly traded back down and got him. Some people have been mixed on my Chiefs. So in the moment when it happened, when they traded up to get Mansour Delane, I was very happy they were getting Delane. I wasn't happy that we were giving up selections in the 3rd and 5th round to get him. But when I found out after that, the Washington wanted him, the Saints wanted him, so it wasn't going to get to the Chiefs at 9. I liked what the Chiefs did getting a lockdown corner because the fall off after Delane in the draft at corner, because Jermon McCoy is still available, is a big time corner, but he's coming off an ACL tear for Tennessee. So there's a massive injury history there. Mansour Delane is the Trent McDuffie replacement. Really like that, and that you're getting a shutdown corner. He plays a lot of man coverage, didn't allow a touchdown in the SEC last year, and only allowed a 27% completion percentage. So even though some people are going to go, the Chiefs gave up a little bit too much, I like that they got a shutdown corner. I also like the Peter Woods selection late in the 1st round, but a wild kind of 1st round. A lot of teams are making their first picks tonight. A lot of pass rushers and receivers still on the board. We'll get into that coming up here in a little bit. On the other side, the Lakers, Austin Reaves may be returning tonight against the Houston Rockets. How does that impact the series? How does that impact the Lakers moving forward? That's coming up next on Going Long, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. Padres start a 2-game set against the Arizona Diamondbacks tomorrow night, and then the Cubs on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Interesting little set here for the Padres. So, crazy comeback last night or yesterday. Well, after we got off our show against the Rockies, and they looked down and out in that. Looked like they were going to lose the series to Colorado. Credit to him. And Gavin Sheets, unbelievable there in the 9th inning. And then Miller, of course, coming and shutting it down, even in Coors Field. This does feel like the next 5 games are interesting for the Padres, because Danny Vietti, I referenced him yesterday, was on Fletch and I show yesterday and covers baseball for CBS Sports, and kind of poured a little bit of cold water on the Padres' recent hot start, saying like metrically they're kind of probably overperforming, over winning some of these games, benefiting from a soft strength of schedule. Coach Quintero, though, was on our show earlier and mentioned, which is a fair point, Padres can only play who's in front of them. So, I mean, they're winning the games that they should win. And although we can dive into the metrics and the nitty gritty of it all, the Padres are just playing winning baseball right now. And there's something to be said for that. But it does feel like in Mexico City, where the elevation, there is zero excuse. There is zero excuse for Machado and Tatis to not destroy in this series. I don't want to hear about hard hit ball percentage, and if they can't get it out in Mexico City, and there's a problem if they can't get it out in the next 2 days. You're going up against Zach Gallen, going up against Ryan Nelson for the Diamondbacks, who's a sneaky good pitcher in the rotation. The Cubs, even though they've been decimated with injuries, are a very solid team with some electric bats. So your next 5 games are against teams that aren't the Rockies, because they have beaten up on some subpar competition recently. And looking at this Zach Gallen matchup tomorrow, I'm excited to see, can the Padres take advantage of an ace? Because the games that they have performed well, they blew up Ranger Suarez in Boston, but Boston has been terrible for a large portion of this season. Mitch Keller, Bubba Chandler, like there were some guys for the Pirates that are serviceable to good pitchers the Padres got after. But when they set up and face aces, Skubal, Valdez, Skeens, Logan Webb, they got to a little bit. But when they face the elite level pitchers, it's usually been pretty rough for the Pods. So even if they don't win tomorrow, the Diamondbacks are favored. Zach Gallen against Germán Marquez, they are going to be favored. I want to see the bats show up, because this is a prime opportunity for them to prove they can do it against elite level starting pitching, and kind of put this narrative to bed that they're just beating up on crap teams. And they've had 2 series against the Rockies, which they only lost 1 game in there. So like there's kind of this narrative, I think, around Major League Baseball, the Padres, despite their hot start and despite the fact that Mason Miller has been unbelievable, isn't really quite what their record says they are. So you feel like over the next week, there's a real opportunity for them to kind of prove some people wrong, and hopefully these bats can get going, because the stars have to produce. We keep talking about it. It's a better problem for them to have that the supplemental pieces are playing well, and you're counting on Merrill and Tatis and Machado to get it together. They have combined OPS in the 700s. You'd rather have that than Merrill, Tatis, and Machado raking and no one else being able to hit the ball, because the chances of fixing the rest of the roster versus having your stars start performing like stars, you'd much rather have count on the stars to get their act together. But does feel like a big weekend. Does feel like the next week against the Cubs, despite their record. Excited to see what the Padres are able to do down in Mexico City. All right, the Lakers are back today, taking on the Houston Rockets. Austin Reaves potentially returning tonight, which is massive. So if Austin Reaves is back tonight, we don't know. We're going to get the injury report here in a little bit. Kevin Durant dealing with a sprained ankle. We'll see if he plays. And then with the Lake Show, if Austin Reaves comes back after 3 weeks to a month, I mean, how does this change the series going forward? Because with Kevin Durant and the Rockets, it feels like they have had no answers whatsoever for the Lakers. And the Lakers have been doing simple things. Trapping. I mean, Kevin Durant, Reed Shepherd, when they bring the ball past half court, there has not been a lot going for Ime Udoka, which is surprising, because Ime Udoka has certainly been one of the better coaches in the NBA. And when his time with Boston and then his time with Houston, Ime Udoka and Kevin Durant were brought here to change the narrative. And yet now, down 0-2, taking on Houston tonight, if Austin Reaves comes back, in this game, then you're talking about another elite scorer for the Lakers to have. And considering that, it's going to be tougher for the Lakers role players on the road. It's one thing for Luke Kennard and Rui Hachimura and Marcus Smart to have excellent offensive performances at home. And I think that they still can continue performing like this because I think Luke Kennard has been underutilized so far in his season with the Lakers. But Austin Reaves, if he's able to play tonight, able to give you anything, I mean, you're talking about all the pressure on Houston. Houston has to win this game. They're 8.5-point favorites at home tonight. And if they lose this game, this series is probably over. The chances of the Rockets peeling off 4 straight, I'm really curious tonight to see what adjustments can be made. Because Ime Udoka, it felt like game 1, they didn't have KD out there. So the Lakers trap was working. And it kind of felt like in game 2, Ime Udoka ran into this thing thinking, well, if Kevin Durant's there, then the Lakers aren't, the Lakers won't be able to match that level scoring. So the offense is going to sort itself out. Well, that wasn't the case. Kevin Durant had 3 points in the second half, 2 in the fourth quarter, and 9 total turnovers. So tonight, what's the response to Ime Udoka? Because the Lakers are going to keep trapping them right as they come across half court because the Rockets do not have a point guard. And when we get to Ime Udoka and Kevin Durant, you talk about teams with pressure so far in this postseason. I mean, they were brought here to change the fortunes of the Houston Rockets, moving off Jalen Green. Austin Reaves, he's back for the Lakers tonight. I mean, this could spell doom for the Rockets, adding another elite scorer to kind of bounce off of LeBron, taking a little bit of pressure off the role players. Be interesting to see if the Lakers are able to go up 3-0 tonight. The NBA playoffs have been fun overall in that, the Timberwolves last night destroyed the Nuggets after chirping them. You got Portland tonight taking on the Spurs. No Wemby in that game because of a concussion. And then you get the Knicks down 2-1 to the Hawks. So some fun series so far in the National Basketball Association. All right, coming up next, we got Darren Smith joining the show, talking some SDFC. How do they respond after a rough performance, not scoring a goal against Houston the other night? And what does he feel on the Padres heading into this weekend series against the Arizona Diamondbacks? That's coming up next on Going Long, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app.
This report is sponsored by Anderson Plumbing, Heating, and Air. The Padres are off today. They start their series in Mexico City tomorrow night against the Diamondbacks. We got 3 more games in the NBA playoffs tonight at 4:00. We got Boston at Philly. Then we got Lakers Rockets at 5 and Spurs Blazers at 7:30. And of course, today is day 2 of the NFL draft. Rounds 2 and 3 will begin at 4:00. Choosing the right home service company isn't just about fixing what's broken. It's about trusting who's in your home. And that's why homeowners count on Anderson for friendly professional service that keeps everything running right. Visit AndersonPHA.com.
Ain't nothing wrong with a little heat. Getting warm around here.
Light the fires, Big Daddy.
Who's next in the hot seat?
Darren Smith kind of to come back on this show. I believe he was actually my first guest on this show. So shout out to Darren, the man. You all know Darren used to own this time slot and doing a bunch of great things. Part of the broadcast with SDFC as they take on Portland tomorrow night. What's going on, Darren?
I don't want to be the last guest on the show. So I just want to make that point perfectly clear. But Sammy, a pleasure as always. Thank you for the invite. Happy to chat with you as we get set for a weekend.
So before we get into Portland with SDFC coming up next, what went wrong for you in that Houston game? Because it feels like red cards keep being a problem. The lack of scoring, obviously didn't score a goal in that one. What right now is sticking out to you for why this team isn't clicking on the same page?
Thought it was better against Houston than it was against Real Salt Lake. Not searching for silver linings, obviously, when you're at the 4th match of a 4-match losing streak, but I did think it was better. I thought the passing was better. I thought they played better defensively. They switched up their tactics a little bit. Just talked to Mikey Vadas about it. Normally they play 4 defenders, 3 midfielders, 3 forwards. This time they went with 3 defenders, 4 midfielders, 3 forwards. So a 3-4-3 for the first time, I think, that we saw with SDFC. Part of that's necessity because of injuries. Luca Bambino's still out. Other players are trying to get back and get healthy. Kieran Sargent still isn't there. Ian Pilcher's just coming back from injury for the first time since the Toluca match. So they have to try different things, and they're asking guys to probably play some minutes that they weren't expecting to play. I think they are asking some players to play out of position. As far as the red cards, I wish I had a better answer. There's no explanation for this one. I think this one was just mostly unfortunate. There were 2 red cards in the game, 1 for each team. And Amal Pellegrino gets his. And I think it was just purely an accident. I don't think he realized that the defender was there. It's justified. It's in the rules. High boot, you're going to get sent off. So I just think he saw an opportunity to try to control the ball, get it to the ground, take a shot. Not a lot of shots in the match. Only 1 of them on target and only 3 for the whole game. So, as good as they were defensively and all that other stuff I just said, they suffered in the goal scoring side of it. But that one to me was different. I think some of the other ones, Sammy, there's just been this knock-on effect, where a guy's suspended, another player gets brought in, people try to do too much. And it felt like it was a little bit part of a cycle. I mean, this one, it's hard to separate it when you get 7 of them in 13 games. It's hard to say, well, hold on now, this one is different or that one is different. It's all part of the story. This one was it was accidental. It was unfortunate, and it really wasn't related to any of the previous red cards, but it's the same thing. You're going to have to play without a key figure, especially Amal Pellegrino. He has 5 goals against Portland last year. So you want this guy there. It's a big loss. But again, baby steps, got a little bit better, and hopefully we just see a much better version of them against Portland coming up on Saturday.
Do you feel like with the red card situation, I'm with you on the Pellegrino one, it felt like just kind of unfortunate circumstances. Yeah. Do you feel like refs are now looking for this? Like this is becoming a narrative, so every time SDFC is kind of on the borderline, they're more on the line of throw a card at them, or do you think it's just really unfortunate events?
I don't know that it's having an impact psychologically on the referees. I do think, though, we'll go back to the Real Salt Lake match from Saturday, where they got a run off the field. They lose 4-1 or 4-2, I guess was the final. But I saw the head coach for Real Salt Lake. He was asked about it. He said, "Hey, what do you make of San Diego? It's kind of crazy, right? All these red cards." He goes, well, listen, there's no strategy for us to try to get somebody carded. Like, we're not going to try to go out there and draw fouls. But he said, I think, though, and he said this publicly. I mean, he said this in his press conference, which I thought was so interesting. He said, I think, though, what we want to do is we want to put pressure on their back line. We want to put pressure where they've been getting the majority of the red cards. Because now maybe it's in their heads. And maybe now if we go at them early, maybe they're going to be thinking, well, I can't get a yellow card. It's only the third or fourth minute of the match. What's going to happen? Then I have to play really cautious. And I think that had an impact. I really do. And I thought they played pretty naive, especially defensively. They gave up a goal in the fourth minute. Listen, that was a terrible mistake from Durant for the goalkeeper. But then the second goal and then third goal, I just thought they were a little bit timid because, as the saying goes, if you think something bad will happen, something bad will happen, right? And I think it was them putting pressure on San Diego saying this has got to be in their heads, right? Like, let's just see if we can put a ton of pressure on them because they're not going to want a mistake and they're going to be so focused on not making a mistake that we'll be able to capitalize. And they did.
Portland bringing a record of 2-1-5. You mentioned Amal Pellegrino, who, won't be available for this game. Scored 5 goals in his career against Portland with SDFC. Do you where's the scoring going to come from? If you can highlight one player that you think has to have a big game tomorrow night?
Well, Anders spoke today at the podium, so we always think that your leading goal scorer and MVP candidate from 2025 is the guy who you're going to get it from. But I've loved what we've seen from Marcus Ingvartson. Marcus now with, 7 goal contributions. He's got 5 goals. He's currently leading the team. When you talk about how do you replace some of the scoring that isn't here from last year, it was a healthy Marcus. Not 100% healthy, which is why he came off the bench on Wednesday and didn't start a couple of matches back. But, that guy, you need somebody besides Anders, right? Like, we all love Anders. He can do amazing things. But you can clearly see the defenses of the other teams are shifting towards him and just making his life difficult. He's so good, he will find success. There's no doubt about it. But you still need that other piece. And the other piece, I think, has been Marcus Ingvartson. And he had a goal in the Real Salt Lake match where he struck the ball so quickly. And when they face these defenders, they're facing a lot of man marking. You hear Mikey Vada say this all the time. They're facing guys that are right on top of him. And his ability to get a shot off as quickly as he can, I think, really will help SDFC, especially based on the way a lot of these other teams defend. So that's my guy. I'm rooting for Marcus. Again, I know he's been dealing with a little bit of a lower body thing, calf or quad, I don't remember. But, that's a guy, like, you're starting to see why it was that you're right there. Him and Yeppe were the, second and third signings in club history.
Darren Smith joining me right now. Looking at the Padres, Tate, on that series, you're starting a series, a little mini 2-game set against the Arizona Diamondbacks tomorrow night. Had that wild comeback win yesterday against the Colorado Rockies. How are you assessing this team right now? Top the NL West. Like, some people have kind of poured some cold water on some of the metrics of it and that they're winning despite the Stars not playing well. Like, what would you kind of say to that? How would you assess this team overall, a month into it?
Isn't that a good thing? I mean, that's often a compliment, right? And if you're performing well and winning when the 2 biggest stars of your club really aren't performing to a level that's expected, isn't that a compliment to guys like Gavin Sheets and Xander Bogaerts and Jackson Merrill and Luis Camposano? I think it is. But I understand the point. I think a lot of this, let's start with the manager. I think the manager's been given some tools this year and he's used them really well. I think even let's talk about yesterday. He has Gavin Sheets, doesn't start the game, starts the game on the bench, puts makes the switch for Ty France. He comes in and, he doesn't get a hit in his first at bat, but he's there and he hits the 3-run jack in the 9th inning. So, I think Salmon's done a really good job of using the pieces that he's had. He's moving them around a little bit. He's keeping guys engaged, whether it's a guy like Ramon Laureano, Ty France, who's had some moments, Gavin Sheets, who's leading the team in extra bases. So I think it's good. I think overall it's really good. And I don't know at what point do people actually worry about Tatis. Maybe that's already happened, or Manny Machado. I don't think so with him. But, I think it's a credit to the roster, and I think it's a credit to how the roster is being used that it hasn't really been an issue up until this point that these two players in particular, Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr., haven't produced.
What do you make of the Lucas Giolito signing? Coming in, kind of bounced around a little bit in his career, missed the full season in 2024. Do you see this as a big ad for them, or just kind of a piece to maintain until Musgrove and Pivetta are back?
A little bit of both. I don't think it's like, oh, okay, now the Padres watch out. I don't view it as such. I mean, there is a reason why, he has not pitched in Major League Baseball and hasn't been signed until the third week of April. Didn't seem like there was a ton of demand in a sport where there's like never any shortage of demand for pitching, right? So makes you a little bit nervous, some of the health stuff that he's dealt with over the last couple of years. I also think a guy, who's clearly going to go into a season, like there's good and bad of having somebody in here who, wants to come and prove things, right? Like he wants to come in here, he wants to prove it. Is that fit into the team dynamic? I don't know. I mean, is he just going to come in here and kind of be on his own program, doing what he thinks is in his own best interest to maximize another potential free agent opportunity next year? Maybe. Or maybe you just say, hey, listen, we'll take it. If that means he's going to be performing at a high level, we'll just deal with it. So, I think part of it is clearly insurance for the uncertainty around Pivetta and Musgrove, which, now is carrying on a little bit longer, especially with Musgrove, than anybody would have thought. But I think it's a good move. I mean, it probably makes you feel good if you're in the clubhouse. Is it like over the top? Okay, that's it. Put your feet up on the desk and kick back AJ Preller. I don't think so. At least not yet. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine anybody would complain about it. The price is right. Even if he hits all of those escalators, you're still talking about a pretty reasonable deal for a good pitcher and a guy with a track record.
How you've covered baseball, a long time. How valid do you think is the Mason Miller Cy Young talk? Because it feels like fun to kind of talk radio, throwing it out there, and he has been so exceptional that it's a real conversation. But do you think this is kind of a pipe dream or a real shot?
I think it's a real shot, and I agree with you. Like, I'm fully aware that this is April MLB radio. Baseball's a long season, right? Like, it's so long. Yeah. So I, certainly. I'm as guilty of it as anybody. I understand what we're talking about. It's so stupid to have a serious conversation about Mason Miller. But, my question is, well, why wouldn't he be considered? We kind of toss that out there just because he's off to this dominating start. You're like, okay, cool. Let me take an angle. I say a bunch of things about baseball in April, and half of them you forget about by the middle of the year. And the Miller thing is like, this guy's so good. Like, he's so good. Where do you think the ceiling is for him? Right. And so when you think about where ceilings are for pitchers, you think about the Cy Young Award. There is no higher ceiling in baseball. I guess you can say MVP, but I still think the Cy Young Award is where it's at. And I was surprised that even the silly conversation created a little bit of pushback from people like, no, they've got their own award. It's the Trevor Hoffman Award or the Mariano Rivera Award. You can still vote for these guys for the Cy Young, so they're eligible to win it. So, like, where did that come from? So, again, who knows what could happen between now and the end of September. But now I actually feel like it's a bit more something worth paying attention to than maybe it was when so many of us just kind of tossed it out there.
Darren Smith, thank you, man, so much for hopping on. Hear him on the broadcast tomorrow night as SDFC taking on Portland. That'll be at 6:30. Of course, hear that right here on San Diego Sports 760. Darren, thanks, man, for jumping on.
Hey, I just want to say thank you. I've been sitting here wondering if you were going to ask about the Knicks, and I am glad that you did not, because I'm absolutely disgusted by them, as I told Brent the other day, and I cannot watch a minute of this series. So after Game 2, I have said, if they can't get out of this series, it's not worth my time watching. I'm disgusted, and I've had enough with this.
Can I tell you, I was going to ask you about it, and I was like, you know what? It might be a little soon after the Brunson shot last night.
Just brutal. It's just Game 2. I didn't even see it last night. I followed, I tracked it, and Bridges with 0 points and a billion turnovers. I just can't believe they did that again in Game 2. I just can't, honestly. Like, after what happened last year in the Eastern Conference Finals, I cannot believe that it happened again. I should not have these kind of emotions or reactions to a sports team. I'm 53 years old. This is not normal, but I was so angry and cursing and storming around my house like a madman. I said, I cannot watch any more of this series, so I'm not going to do it.
All right. Well, we'll keep you updated if the Knicks come back and win this thing. But thank you so much, Darren. Hear him tomorrow night, 6:30 is SDFC taking on Portland. All right. Coming up next, Schaefer, Sleewell, a little crossover action heading into the weekend. Those boys are coming up next on Going Long, San Diego Sports 760, live on the iHeartRadio app. Close this thing out heading into the weekend, but these guys are just starting. They just
where are you going? Wait, come on, hang out. It's a Friday.
Yeah, they can hang.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to.
You got to watch that draft, dude.
Yeah, I know. I got a lot to get to. We got the Lakers at 5. We got the draft at 4. We got a lot of things to get to tonight. What are you boys up to today?
Where's your show?
We're gonna do a radio show.
Talk for a few hours.
We're gonna do a sports radio show. John said, I think today we should do politics. And I'm like, let's just stick to sports today.
We're going to
simulcast
simulcast Kogo.
What if Kogo did sports and the sports host did Kogo?
Nobody
No,
needs
here's the bad thing.
Bad idea.
Here's the bad thing. The bad thing with that idea is I consume a lot of news. I do. It's
I do too.
Sometimes it's not healthy. I can probably do a solid 3 hours with you, John.
No, he's
on
not
doing
with me.
some sports. I don't know if I'll still have a job.
Sports. I don't consume a lot of news.
Yeah.
So I'd
Even
be
better.
overmatched. I'd be like,
There's gonna be picketers outside.
I'd be like, how does this impact LeBron's legacy? That would be basically my take.
That's funny. How are you doing, Sammy? How was the show today? What's going on?
It was good. We had a lot to get to. We had Rifkin on. We
Yeah.
a lot of draft talk, a lot of Lakers, a lot of Padres. So
Okay.
I had a lot to get to today. We had a lot
All right.
going on this weekend.
Padres in Mexico City. John, you said it, man. We should have planned this out better.
We should have
But
gone.
here's the problem. I just got here. So this one's not on me. This
What
one's
time is
completely
true?
on you.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, there'll be another
How much fun would that have
opportunity.
been? Oh,
Mexico City is awesome. Again, I went with my wife 3 years ago. We had a blast. I know there's going to be thousands of Padre fans. I'm doing like wrap-up show YouTube, and people are talking about going.
how
this
great is
weekend.
that?
So
It's phenomenal.
I'd like to go. It was a really cool experience last time, but we got time. They'll be back, right?
Are you
Maybe.
surprised that
I
the
have no
Padres?
idea.
Are you surprised that the Padres are lining up Herman Marquez to go up against Zach Gallen tomorrow?
I mean, it's a regular season game. Is it a
But
problem?
it's supposed to. I mean, it's Mexico City. Like it's supposed to be hyped up. You know, it's a little bit.
Here's the
It's a
problem.
little different.
Here's the problem with the Padres. I don't think they have much choice
I
of
was
who
gonna
to
say,
throw
what do you
out
want
there.
to
That's
do?
the problem. The problem is like it's slim pickings right now
You
from their
pulled Giolito
starters.
from Elsinore.
Well, they got King on Sunday, so I mean, you're
Right,
going to
Right.
get their best pitcher on Sunday, so that's going to be the case. Maybe it's not a bad idea for what the elevation is and how easy it is to hit in Mexico City. Let Marquez, if you got a game you're going to get shelled at, get shelled in that
And
one.
just wear it.
Yeah.
No, I mean, here's the thing. Nick Pavetta's not available. It's like,
Yeah,
you're going to have to throw guys like Walker Buehler and Herman Marquez right now.
It does feel like, I mean, not like a big series for the Padres playing good baseball right now, winning much games. It is kind of a fun series though in terms of Tatis and Machado and
in
Merrill.
terms of like, please hit the ball.
Right, because like at some point, you get to we keep going like it's going to happen soon. It was going to happen against the Rockies. Well, now it's going to happen in Mexico City. If it doesn't happen in Mexico City, you start having at some point you can't keep going. When are these guys going to wake up? Because the rest of the team is playing damn good baseball right now.
I think the problem with that narrative is because they're playing good baseball, it's kind of got buried. And you're not wrong that like eventually at the end of the day, if they're going to have sustained success, you can't do it without Tatis and Machado. But yesterday, John and I are prepping, and the score is 8-4, and they're about to walk into the eighth inning.
Yep.
I think they scored 1 in the eighth, and then they got
make it 8-5.
Yeah, 8-5. And we literally in our notes were like, hey, today's the day. We're going at Tatis. We're going at Machado. And by the time we sat here, Tatis strikes out. We're all in the room together.
Yep.
And then we start our show, and 15 minutes in, they're up 10-8, and it's like, well, I can't bury Machado and Tatis today. I'm going to have to wait for a game where they're struggling. I don't know what's going to happen in Mexico City. I don't know if they're all of a sudden going to wake up. But let's just say they woke up in Mexico City. Then aren't we going to say, well, it happened because it was in Mexico City?
Yeah, basically.
And I'm happy to take that. I'm happy to have that.
That's fair.
That take based off of the stadium.
Also, it goes back to the narrative of like Tatis prefers playing like outside of the country. Like for the Dominican team, he's got different flair and energy. In Mexico City, I remember I was there in Mexico City, homered a couple of years ago. He had a couple of good games, I want to say, in general. But like at the end of the day, you're playing 162 regular season games, most of which are going to be played in San Diego or Cincinnati. And you're going to have to perform more often in San Diego and Cincinnati, bad example, than at this random stadium where you play 2 games every 3 years. So he's got to be consistent. Like even this weekend, if he's got a good weekend, the first thing I'm going to say on Monday is please carry this over. Please be this player.
What do you do?
Because we talked about
Yeah.
that so much with the WBC. It was a lot of these guys. It was kind of a bad look when they start off slow because in the WBC, I mean, they were looking like you thought that the hitters would be above because usually it takes hitters a couple weeks to get adjusted to major league pitching. That's why I thought that the Padres would get off to a hotter start. Now it was kind of inverted because they had terrible first week and then had a great last 3 weeks. So we'll be fun here over the weekend.
it'd be tough to complain about them today, but the noise only gets louder if they start losing games, and those two obviously aren't performing.
What's coming up on the show today?
Kevin Acee from Mexico will join us at 4 p.m. So
Mexico.
Kevin Acee from Mexico. Tay Simmons, Aztec.
Okay.
Freshman forward, back for a second year, announcing that he will be back. He'll join us as well at 3:30.
And we're about to get out of here. Well, I'm about to get out of here. But it is kind of crazy how college basketball, like San Diego State, it really has become a 24/7 sport. When college basketball, college football used to be just when it was playing, and then it was kind of dead in the offseason.
Completely changed.
I mean,
portal season.
Dutch, we had Dutch on yesterday. He was telling us
Dutch
that's all he's doing. He's spending all his time like talking with agents and trying to get guys to sign contracts.
Think about that. Agents with college players.
I know.
Agents.
Different world.
All right, coming up next, Schaefer and Sliwa. Keep listening. I will be back on Monday. Keep on listening.